like stupid how cold it is.
I don't mind it that much, but
What?
I said I don't mind it that much, but it could definitely be a problem
Yeah.
for you. My only hope is that there's an Uber correction.
Oh no, I'm not turning anything on or off. It's gonna change dramatically once the sun comes up.
Yeah, that's true.
Alrighty.
But I will go grab my coat.
I had to put mine back on just now. Feel great.
You only have like 2 minutes.
Oh shit. Okay, I'll be right back.
Complete collision center.
Okay.
Bumps in at about 20 seconds.
Alright.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man. Here is Brian Haldane.
606 Talk 1073 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you, Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane, and we are off and running. Less than 2 weeks to go until Christmas. Whew. A lot going on this morning. We're going to cover as much of it as we possibly can. What a jam-packed weekend here in Louisiana, or here in Baton Rouge, I should say. We had two teams from Baton Rouge taking home state titles down in New Orleans when it comes to high school football. Two teams this weekend. Settle down, Catholic High. We covered y'all enough last week. Had three different Christmas parades over the weekend. I was out at two of them. We had some potentially nasty weather that never really got really, really bad, but just kind of put a damper on Saturday evening before Saturday evening started. And then just a glorious Sunday across the board. Of course, that being said, hard-pressed to celebrate any of it when you look to the folks of Mayfield, Kentucky this morning, who basically lost their whole town. I don't know if you were listening to CBS News or America in the Morning before us or First Light before that, but man, the level of devastation from a series of tornadoes ripping through over the weekend. According to CNN, it took everything Kiana Parsons Perez had to keep from panicking after heavy winds collapsed the building she was in and pinned her to the ground under piles of heavy debris. Parsons Perez was one of the many workers trapped under the rubble of a candle factory in Mayfield, Kentucky, after it was struck by a tornado late Friday. It happened so fast, she told CNN, describing the onslaught of destruction and the tornado waged at the factory. We all just rocked back and forth, and then boom, everything fell on us. That tornado was, get ready for this, one of at least 50 that struck 8 states, including Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi, Ohio, and Tennessee. Just an absolutely violent rush of storms that rolled through. The death toll is numerous already and will likely go up from here. Well, I mean, obviously it can't go down. But our prayers this morning, to start the morning, are definitely with the folks in the affected states, as they are going to have a lot of work. They're going to have a lot of work in front of them to recover, and it's going to be a rough go of it for quite some time as they rebuild throughout. Mayfield, Kentucky was just basically leveled, and numerous other places throughout those 8 states that were listed. All right, we've got a lot of ground to cover today. Bringing it back home locally. Richard Condon's going to be on at 6:35. Y'all know the drill here. This is the best way to get your week started every single week. Have no idea what he's talking about. That's the whole point. Paris Dennard from the RNC is going to join us at 6:52. Why? Because inflation continues to rise. No real end in sight, at least not in the anytime immediately. What's contributing to the inflation? What's causing the inflation? Well, I'm sure Paris has a few thoughts. We will talk about that at 6:50. In our 7 o'clock hour, we talk with Dr. Jorge Castellanos for our Medical Monday segment. Leaky heart valves will be the topic today. Actually, I had to record this on Friday because Dr. Castellanos was not available this morning. Learned a lot during this segment. I mean, he was remarkably informative. So looking forward to Medical Monday presented by Our Lady of the Lake. That'll be followed by Stephen Wagasback from LABI, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Where are we at right now with just 2 weeks to go until Christmas? Where are we at from a business and industry perspective and employment perspective? Where are we at with the state of Louisiana business right now? Stephen Wagasback at 7:35. In our 8 o'clock hour, I don't know if you saw this last night. WBRZ's website put up, WBRZ.com, put up a story about the potential for where a new Mississippi River bridge could be. In fact, there is a meeting today for the Bridge Commission. The Capital Area Road and Bridge District is going to meet this afternoon, 2 o'clock this afternoon. They've narrowed down the list of possible locations from 32 down to 17. Weird. It's like 16 plus 1. It's like they narrowed it by half plus 1. Narrowed it from 32 to 17. They're hoping to have that list down to 3 in short order. Scott Kirkpatrick is with the Capital Region Industry for Sustainable Infrastructure Solutions. If that sounds like a long title, well, it's because it's an acronym for crisis. Scott Patrick with Crisis is going to join us at 8:15 to talk about the potential of a new bridge and where it might be going. That's at 8:15. 8:35, Congress looks like they're going to raise the debt ceiling again. This felt inevitable from the start. We're going to talk with Jonathan Bydlak. Jonathan Bydlak was with R Street. R Street is basically a common sense think tank. They break things down not by party, but by free market practices. Jonathan's going to join us to talk about raising the debt ceiling. The last time we raised the debt ceiling, which was just a few months ago, Jonathan came on, and his take was basically nobody likes it, but you kind of have to. Because if you don't, you run the risk of defaulting on your credit. You run the risk of defaulting on the U.S. Treasury, and that's a path you don't want to walk down. Well, if we're raising the debt ceiling just 3 months later, or not even 3 months, if we're raising the debt ceiling just a few months later, at what point do we not call? At what point do we not say enough? We raised the debt ceiling just a couple months ago and immediately spent up enough to fill it back up again. It's like we're sitting in a big tank of water. We got a little extra room at the top of the water and filled it right back up. So at what point do we not have to start worrying about drowning? Jonathan Bydlak from R Street at 8:35. Plus, we'll have top stories and trending. Plus, we'll have the outside in. Jake will have this day in history and a whole lot more coming your way as the morning wears on. We're going to take a break. Got traffic coming your way in just a little bit. Before we take that break, though, need to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. Look, we're getting on that time where the kids are getting out of school. You're getting your last-minute Christmas shopping in. You've got more reasons to actually be on the road at unusual hours. And we're creatures of habit. And when we get outside of our habits, well, sometimes bad things happen. And that could mean a fender bender. That could mean ending up in an accident. Doug and his team over at Complete Collision want you to know they're there for you at either location. 19511 Plank Road up in Zachary or 9848 Perkins Road right here in Baton Rouge. They can do everything at both shops. Perkins Road is a smaller footprint, but there's nothing they can't get done there. Certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers, they have the iCar Gold Class certification that automatically puts them in the top 15% of body shops nationwide. Give them a call, 768-9898, 768-9898, or check them out online at CompleteCollision.com. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. Unbelievably loud. All right. This one's in the books and done. Researchers find climate change record in clamshells. Pass. Latest numbers from the SBA. 1.094 billion. Maybe. Boyd professor. Maybe. Paris Dennard.
It's the U.S. National Guard's birthday today.
Okay.
Should that be the only thing I talk about?
As far as national days are concerned, like yeah, sure.
Like, should that be the only one I talk about?
Birthdays or national days?
Is the U.S. National Guard's birthday.
Right, but if it's all like for the birthdays, keep the birthdays there. But if it's like National Puddin' Pop Day, you could skip National Puddin' Pop Day.
I'm asking, should I not do any other holidays?
Right, no other holidays. Birthdays, yes. Holidays, no.
So I can do more than just that one.
Yes.
I have your cuts right.
All right, cool. .616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Saints broke the losing streak yesterday. Oh, nothing like the New York Jets to get things back in working order. It's an ugly ball game, though. full disclosure, I only watched the first half. I know they turned on the scoring in the second half, but I was out at the Jones Creek Area Business Association's Christmas parade yesterday, which was phenomenal. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But in the meanwhile, Saints running back Alvin Kamara rushed for 120 yards, had a touchdown in his return to the field after a 4-game absence. New Orleans ended a 5-game losing streak, black and gold beating up on the Jets 30-9 your final score. Kamara says he felt good out there, says the team played well.
Everybody played well. I mean, it was energy on all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. And I think when we play like that, it's not a lot of teams that can really stick with us. I mean, it looked good, it felt good. I mean, everybody was pretty much in rhythm. Besides a couple of drives we had on offense, we kind of stalled out a little bit. But I mean, all around, it was a good team win.
Those stallouts on offensive side, it was Taysom Hill at quarterback. By the way, Kamara had missed the previous 4 games. He had a knee and a hamstring injury, if I'm not mistaken. Offensive tackle Teron Armstead also got back in after missing multiple games with an injury. So it was Taysom Hill at quarterback, despite an injured middle finger on his throwing hand. Hill rushed for 2 touchdowns, threw for just 175 yards. Says he was able to manage the injury, didn't think much about it during the game.
You're aware of those things all the time. And if I felt like it was taking away or I wasn't able to do everything I needed to, then I would have said something. But once you get in the course of a game, you can't allow your mind to get distracted by other things. So as I take the field, I'm not consciously thinking about my finger or my wrist or whatever it is. It's go time.
There were a couple of passes where you'd see him pat the ball a few extra times, and maybe it floated a little bit on the pass. That would be a result of not being able to get the same grip on it with the injured middle finger. Saints defense, did not allow a touchdown. Only gave up 256 yards of total offense. Linebacker Demario Davis says they've been working on trying to get better.
We've had some challenging weeks, not being able to get the result that we wanted on the field, but we just stay true to the process, and that's what you do. You lock in on your details. How can you get better as an individual? How can you bring your best come Sunday, and eventually it'll pay off for you, and it did today. And so we'll take that one and flush it, enjoy it, then flush it, then get on to the next.
Yep, but definitely enjoy it, because after a 5-game losing streak, you got to grab hold of something. Hey, in high school football, Zachary brings home the Class 5A state title. They beat Ponchatoula 28-20. We had that game on our sister station, 104.5 ESPN, Saturday night. So Zachary brings home the 5A state title. Now, Division II select state title was won on Cajun Field in Lafayette Friday. U-High beat E.D. White in that game. So a couple more state titles coming back to Baton Rouge over the weekend. We got to take a quick break, check the Fox Business Report. When we come back, a lot more of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way next. All right, I have my clock back up now. You hung over? No, I don't. Set you up for that one. All right, I'm going to get my Red Bull out of the fridge. I'll be right back. one more. Oh, snap. All right, well, I'm in.
I got your pets ready.
Okay. Hey, morning, Christy. Welcome in, boo. Happy good morning to you.
Hey, do you want anything on this Joe Biden message that you already had that's in that folder for today?
Oh, snap. Yeah, how long is that?
The Joe Biden one's a minute and a half. And
Let's do that here. 624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. A lot of news to cover in this segment. The first item has to do with COVID-19, and you're going to actually hear a lot more about this in our news at the bottom of the hour. The Centers for Disease Control giving the thumbs up. 16 and 17-year-olds can now receive the Pfizer COVID-19 booster shots. This be cut 7, 8, 9. LSU Health New Orleans infectious disease specialist Dr. Fred Lopez says the Pfizer vaccine has shown it's effective against the different variants.
I know we're speaking a lot about the Omicron variant these days, but the reality is the Delta variant is still the overwhelming cause of COVID-19 infections in the United States.
You know, okay, got to go off rails for just a second. Yeah, it is, because it's got built-in numbers. It's going to take a minute for the Omicron variant to catch up with the Delta variant. And if we're not acting, we're reacting. If we continue to follow the trends are going to remain the way the trends are, and we're going to stay behind the 8-ball instead of getting out in front of things. I keep hearing that in the news about how Delta is still outpacing Omicron. Yeah, it's got its feet underneath it already. Omicron is new. I mean, we have a different perspective here in Louisiana simply because we got hit with this variant, with the Delta variant early. So we're able to look at it through a perspective of we're kind of behind it now. It's kind of over with. Well, not over with here, but definitely it's a different scenario here than it is in the states where it's still continuing to grow. Anyway, the booster shots for those newly eligible 16 and 17-year-olds are available to those who have received the initial 2-shot regimen. Dr. Lopez says the efficacy of the Pfizer vaccine can fade after 6 months. And with Delta and Omicron circulating, it's one of the reasons to get boosted with that third dose.
Any individual who gets infected can incubate a variant. Even if they're not incubating a variant and they're infected, they can transmit it to other individuals.
Dr. Lopez talks about why the move to permit Pfizer booster shots for 16 and older is now the right thing to do.
Boosting people will hopefully decrease the number of infections, decrease the number of variants produced, decrease the number of people who then acquire the infection from these individuals.
Yeah, there will still be outbreak cases, but it's about moving the whole closed loop forward. It's not going to be a completely closed loop, and it never will be, and there's going to be more variants in the future. By the way, the expansion to Pfizer booster shots for 16 and 17-year-olds took effect last Thursday with emergency authorization from the FDA. And if you've been listening to a lot of the reports, a lot of the medical experts are saying we don't know for sure if the vaccinations stand up against the Omicron variant, but getting a booster is good for you. That's been the general takeaway. Hey, did you see last Friday? I couldn't believe this was true when it happened. Did you see last Friday President Joe Biden saying goodbye to Bob Dole? So former senator and presidential candidate Bob Dole passed away last week. His memorial service, not the service back home in Kansas, but in Washington, D.C., in the Capitol Rotunda. President Biden sounding off, giving his thoughts and whatnot. I watched this in real time and couldn't believe it happened and had to go back and rewatch it again. I don't know if you heard, but at the end of the statement, the president, he tried to give Bob Dole the last word, saying we've had numerous fights, numerous arguments. It was all respectful. It was all, collegial throughout. And then at the end of it, tries to give Bob Dole the last word, and this is how.
I'd like to read a portion of his final message that he left to the country that I hope we all listen to in the days and weeks, months to come. And I quote Bob Dole. I cannot pretend that I have not been a loyal champion of my party, but have always served my country best when I did it so first and foremost as an American, where we prioritize principles over party, humanity over personal legacy. When we do that, we accomplish far more as a nation. By leading with shared faith in each other, we become America at its best. He went on to say, a beacon of hope, a source of comfort in crisis, a shield against those who threaten freedom. Our nation has certainly faced periods of division, but at the end of the day, we've always found ways to come together. We can find that unity again. Then the message said, end of message. My fellow Americans.
Wait. No. No. It was so good up until that. Did you hear that? He basically said, I'm Ron Burgundy. You don't read end of message. The part in the parentheses. Don't read the part in the parentheses. Oh, I mean, it was touching. It was warm. It was heartfelt. Everyone was on the edge of their seats for, hey, this is unity right here. And then, boom, the late night talk shows get their punchline. Sad. All right, quick break. When we come back, Richard Condon's up next. I have no idea what we're talking about, but it's going to be fun.
So there's also this, well, I'm guessing, oh no, it's not medical one.
Troy's just paused for applause. That's fun. I'm gonna sharpen my pencil. I'll be right back. Oh, man, that story right there. St. Tammany Parish, congrats! The state of Mississippi's general fund says, thank you, St. Tammany. You know, for something that doesn't affect the parish I live in, I'm remarkably salty about that. Awesome. Galen says, Biden need help. End of message. I mean, come on, man. You know, we used to get in line, have hard-boiled eggs for breakfast. The children would come around. I don't know where I was going with that. End of message. Eric, now you can see how Mississippi is just whipping our ass. No, I totally can see it. When they voted in favor of sports betting last year, too. Got out a year ahead of us. Pass a good time at the Silver Slipper. How long does it take to get from Slidell to the Silver Slipper? Mississippi. I think that's the closest one. Sup, Rich?
Not a whole lot, dude. Thanks.
Yeah, looking a little swole this morning, dude.
I like that.
I know.
Get an extra small.
That's nice. What's on?
I don't know, dude. Hey, almost texted you last night. Today's like the NCAA tournament, dude. Win in Sabah, move on.
For what?
For the shows. Just want to get through without getting into trouble, dude. Just make it through this one.
You talking about like just counting down to the end of the year? Or?
No, just in general.
Oh, all right.
Just in general. Gotta praise these parents without ruining it for the kids.
Praise what parents?
I'll tell you.
All right.
I'll tell you.
I'm lost.
I don't know how these parents do it today. I don't know how my dad couldn't have done it. I'm gonna tell you that. But he didn't have the same wars. These parents today, how they do it, I don't know.
I had no clue.
I'm gonna just tell you, if you got your kids, you know, this may not be something for the kids.
I got 3 kids.
Yeah, but they're not. Yeah, but they're adult kids.
No, my oldest is 14.
Okay, that's adult kid. I'm talking about kids.
Like 5? I got one of those.
What I'm gonna talk about is your 14-year-old knows better. All right?
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Damn right it is. Damn right it is, babe.
We spell flavor with a U. F-L-A-V-O-U-R. Flavor of talk. Hey, did the TV for the Jones Creek Area Business Association's Christmas parade yesterday? It was me and Colada.
How'd that go?
Really well. It's good to
Good.
see him again.
What parade was?
Jones Creek Christmas
Oh, that's
parade?
another one. Good. I'll add that one. That was yesterday?
Yeah. Went to downtown one Saturday night. The Gus Young one ran Saturday too. I didn't go to I didn't even know the Gus Young was happening.
That's wild. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah.
My dad couldn't have convinced me. Good for these parents. Ain't no way, Dad.
637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Time to welcome in from Condon Uncensored, Richard Condon. Rich, what's happening, man?
I'm well, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You got the dryer working overtime to shrink the shirts this morning?
No, I just like snug fitting shirts. That's all
I'm
I mean.
telling you.
You know, I'm not bothering
You're
you
looking
for
a little-
wearing your Pawpaw's jacket on.
Dude,
the air.
I am so cold this morning. But you look a little ripped. You look a little swole this morning.
Appreciate it, buddy. Sometimes you got to flaunt it.
I mean, you know, you might have hit an extra couple sets on the bench. Okay.
Just an extra bluebell.
All right.
That's all it is.
I mean, it went to the right places for sure.
Hey, look, I got an idea for you.
What you got?
All right, now you know how all of these people, like, I say all of the people, you know, they like to promote some of their achievements.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah.
Like these people drive around with their kid, got a honor roll.
Oh,
bumper
yeah.
sticker. Then you got the people who ran 13.1 or 26.2. And
Yeah.
they have those decals.
The marathon
and then
runners.
you got the little stick family, you know, outlined on the back glass. You got mom, you got dad, you got the 3 little bambinos, you got the little dog. You follow me?
Yes.
I have come out with a new decal.
Oh.
It's the outline of a syringe. So every time you get a COVID shot, you put it on your back glass. That way you can promote to everybody that you got the most COVID shots and booster shots amongst everybody. You can brag how many shots you got. It would be a competition. Forget about the $25 gift cards. Forget about showing up on Sherwood Forest and getting $100. It's about pride. It's about commitment. It's about flaunting what you're doing and nobody else is. Just syringe after syringe after syringe. It's like a Navy fighter pilot. You follow me? On the side of the plane, baby. It took down 40 Red Barons.
It's
That's
like all the
right.
little Buckeyes on the Ohio State helmet.
Exactly right. Just like helmet decals.
It is.
You know, people don't remember this, but back in the late 70s, how you like that?
Rich!
You're welcome,
End
Governor.
it!
You're welcome.
End it!
Huh?
What? Wait, first of all, why are you talking about this before you have them for sale? You need a website up
what I'm
and
saying.
running.
I gotta do it.
$2.95 a piece
That's
right
exactly
now.
right. You follow
This
me?
is retirement money, Rich.
Somebody's
This
windshield
is
looks
brilliant.
Like the back of
Oh my! Come here.
74,
Come here.
75. This is the best idea ever. Right
Oh
here.
my
That's
word!
right. Thus, I wear the tight-fitting shirt today.
That is the best idea ever.
Okay.
I'm stunned.
You got time for more?
I got time. I don't know if I want more. Why'd you
Damn
lead
right.
with this? This is
Damn
like going.
it.
This is like going on stage
I
after the
went on
Stones.
back.
Oh, Rich, like legit from
Somebody's
my
gonna
heart.
steal it and run. Somebody's going to steal it and run. That's fine. You take credit for it.
Oh man, syringe decals on the back of the.
That's right.
This is Rich.
It's incredible. See, if people think I just have an attitude and I butcher the English language, there's more here. Tired of it. I come up with this stuff every day, Brian. Every day, and I let it slip away. Set it free. If it doesn't come back to be, it wasn't meant to be. Whatever the hell that is. I like it.
Oh man, it's if you love something, let it go. But what you got?
Well, here's another thing. I guarantee you back in the late 70s and early 80s, when us guys went to LSU, we're not getting hurt trying to get into the bars in Tigerland. You know why these kids are getting hurt? Because they're unathletic. It's because of participation trophies. It's because their dad didn't put a belt in their ass. It's because PE is being de-emphasized. See what all them participation trophies got these kids when they were 7? Now they can't even get to the freaking bar without going to the emergency room.
Look, hey, you and I, we did this bit. So the YouTube audience has already heard this, but the overall audience is not. And yes, it's 100% right. You and me, man. Look, I can jump that for sure.
No question.
I can sack race
Well, you know
across
what? 'Cause
that.
they took out field day.
Like,
When
you
you
would be-
got your blue, your white, your red ribbon.
Let's take-
And let me tell you something. My old man told me, don't you dare bring no damn white or red ribbon in my house because I'm going to put my foot up your butt.
Let's take your right ankle and my left ankle, tie them together. We'll three-legged race
And
across
let me tell you
it.
something. Even if we did get injured, right, Kirby Smith, I jumped from one flight of stairs to the next flight of stairs, loaded, 20 stitches. Didn't tell nobody. Suck it up. Buddies bring you to the hospital. You get stitched up. That's it. Nowadays, these kids are making a paper because they got injured trying to get to a bar. There's no telling your parents when you get injured going to a bar. You don't do that.
You lived in Kirby?
Hell yeah, I lived in Kirby. I lived in Power, too. You remember the old Power dorm?
Yeah, I remember.
I think it was the only dorm on campus at the time that had AC.
Yeah, it was.
AC.
So yeah, I was on the 14th floor of Kirby.
All right, B. Now look, here's could be touchy. All right.
What?
I want to praise parents out there today.
All right.
Praise them. I mean this sincerely. I'm not being disrespectful. This is not a bit. Because parents today have to keep Santa alive for their kids. It's tradition, right?
Yes.
You follow me? Our parents did not have to explain to us how come Santa was in the Gus Young parade, Santa was in the Denham Springs parade, Santa was in the Jones Creek parade, Santa was in the Central parade last week, because we would have said, Dad, I mean, 14 days before Christmas, there's no way Santa can spend all of that time in South Louisiana. And all 4 Santas didn't look exactly the same. So there's no way Santa traveling from this parade to that parade is changing, losing that much weight, or is changing anything. Parents have a tough job today. Because what we did, maybe we went to Maison Blanche on Canal Street. We played with Mr. Bingo a little bit.
Yeah.
We got our pictures with Santa. We went home. We didn't know what was going on a parish away.
Right.
Or on the other side of town. We didn't know. Our own little world was just catching a magazine, streetcar, the bus, and going to get Santa and a little photo. Parents have got a harder job today.
You know, but the kids are smarter too, though. They're able to figure out enough to know that might not be the real Santa. Santa's got sub Santas that work for him, not like the full on Santa, not the capo Santa, but like his street captains.
You know what Anna said?
They got to kick up the line.
You know what Anna told me?
What?
Well, parents could just tell their children that Santa's helper. I said, God's not letting his angels dress up like him.
No.
That's what I'm saying. That's disrespectful to God.
No, it is, but Santa's not God.
Oh, but let me tell you, all the Democrats out there, now they got 2 things they blame everything on.
What?
Bad policing and climate change. It doesn't matter what's going on.
Wait,
You know, it's like somebody hit a pregnant spider with a flip-flop. Here come all the illegals across the border. Now, that's what they're doing. They saying climate change is the reason why all those people in Kentucky in the Midwest tornadoes.
Yeah, I know
Joe
it's
Biden
coming.
came out there yesterday and said, yeah,
Hey,
he thinks
man.
it's climate change, too.
Hey,
so
it
what?
is.
It's either
End
the
of
police
message.
or it's climate change. That's everything going on in the world. Inflation, what do you want to blame it on? Police or climate change?
Inflation's gonna be climate change.
They'll have the grocery stores. They may have the brand, but they don't have all the flavors of the brand no more. So that's what you get. You get the original. You can't get the garlic and the sea salt because they can't get it on the store shelf. You know what it is? That's your choice. Do we blame it on climate change, or do you want to go with bad police?
I think that's the pandemic, though. Can't you blame the pandemic for that when the supply chain issues?
Hey, look, real quick, because I know you're going to run me out of here because you got to get the stuff of substance. I want to wish the National Guard a happy 385th birthday.
Yes, sir.
1636, first militia in this country.
Yep.
And a lot of National Guard men and women out there leave their families and their jobs in the spur of the moment because they get called to duty.
Yes.
So God bless everybody who's affiliated, has a family member, or anybody involved in the National Guard. They do some great stuff. Great stuff.
No, they do. They do. And no organization has morphed to serve in more different ways than they have.
Real quick, I got to share a great story.
Because of climate change.
Look, Scott Wharton, all right, he played football at LSU. Jim
Who?
Wharton's son.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I went and saw him, but it's the greatest thing in the world. So he wanted me to kind of like convey to this. You know the whole bit with Steve Spurrier? Every time Steve Spurrier is on some show, he says, well, he wanted the LSU job, but LSU just looked the other way.
Yeah.
You know, that's not true. Guess what happened?
What?
The late James Wharton went to Florida, because at that time, that was 86 after Orangebarger left to go to Florida, right?
Okay.
All right, well, at that time, he was in between jobs. His final gig was with the Tampa Bay Bandits in the USFL, right?
All right.
That ended in 85. He didn't start coaching Duke until 87. James Wharton went to Florida, met with Steve Spurrier, right? They agreed on a deal.
Okay.
You know what changed everything?
What?
LSU offered Steve Spurrier the job. When Steve Spurrier was walking out, because James Wharton was getting a couple more LSU officials to come the next day to finalize everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they agreed to terms. Steve Spurrier, when he was walking out, and they were agreeing what time we're going to meet again tomorrow and where, Steve Spurrier says, look, I got to let you know, if the Florida job ever comes open, I'm going. And LSU couldn't put themselves in that situation.
Why would they?
No, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that's why. They offered him the job,
totally.
but he tells everybody, well, I just don't do a good interview. He could have been the coach. Now, look, Galen Hall got fired after 89, so he would have went to Florida anyway. But that's a true story. People think they dropped the ball on Spurrier. Spurrier's the one who dropped the ball on himself.
We're talking inflation. It's coming up next. Paris Dennard from the RNC heading your way. Richard Condon, we always appreciate it, brother.
I hope everybody has a great week.
I'm going to see if I can't get a couple hundred stickers with syringes printed up. You know my buddy Mark Vincent from Rebel Graphics?
Yeah, dude.
I bet you he can do that.
You like that idea, or you were funny? I just you know how people are. They put them all over.
I know. If you already got the stick family, go with the syringes into each one that's already gotten it.
I like it. Maybe holding one up.
Right. And then the message says, end of message. Bro, hey, did you see Joe Biden give his remarks about Bob Dole on Friday? So he ends with a quote of Bob Dole. I mean, this is a memorial service. It's like a very somber event. He reads the Bob Dole quote, and then he says, and then it says, end of message. Like, he read the thing in parentheses that says end of message. He read the...
It's like Ryan Burgundy.
That's what I said!
Oh, God. That's hilarious. Again, traffic's only 45 seconds, so you're going to have...
Okay, all good. Good. I went the tattoo route. I want to remember that I'm better than most for a lifetime. Helmet decals. Exactly, Clinton. Hey, I'm going to give you Paris's phone number in case we need it. Cool.
Top 35 seconds, then you're going to have 20 seconds. So we get to 20.
Okay. Was there just a promo for the... Hang on. Shit. I think I just heard the promo for 15K Holidays. Okay, then I'll skip that one for right now. Let's talk inflation. How high is it going to go? How long is it going to stick around? Paris Dennard from the RNC joins us to talk about that. Coming up right after we check your money now, right here on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk in Baton Rouge. So if he's not on by the time we get back in, call him. Oh, okay, go.
Talk 107.3. Good morning, Paris. How are you? Wonderful. We're going to be live in just a few minutes, then we'll get you on, okay? Yep. Thank you. Please hold. What is his title?
Paris, his title is... Oh, what is his actual title? I've just always had him down as RNC spokesman. The Republican National Committee. Hang on one second. I can get you an exact title right now. Yeah, National Spokesman and Director of Black Media Affairs. Just put National Spokesman. And I think I misspelled. I think I put 2 R's in his first name. I might have scratched one of them out, but it's just 1 R. Yes. Oh. 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Got the CBS World News Roundup coming your way at about 7.5 minutes from right now. So it was learned late last week. The Labor Department announced consumer prices increased by 6.8% in November compared to the previous year. That is the largest annual increase in over 39 years. Basically, inflation is the new trend. How long is it going to last? What's it going to take to get out of it? Paris Dennard with the RNC joins us now. Paris, welcome back. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
No, doing very well. Glad to have you back on. although the topic du jour is probably not the most pleasant. A number of things combining to create this inflation, but there are a few things exacerbating it as well. So set the table for us. What are we actually looking at when it comes to inflation right now?
Well, what we're looking at is the fact that the Biden-Harris administration do not have a plan to help the American people get out of this economic turmoil that everyone is in. When you look at the rising cost of things like gasoline, when you look at the rising cost of things at the grocery store, which we call food inflation, that is things that are actually a tax increase on the middle class and the lower class working people. I mean, just to break it down, gas is up 58% since last year. You know, steak, 24% increase. Furniture, 11.8% increase. I mean, if you smoke cigarettes, it's up 9.4%. Car rentals, up 37.2%. Hotels, 25%. So every single thing that you can think of, even down to bacon, up 21%, has increased. And that has an impact on the American people. And the Biden administration for months said this is something that is transitory, it's temporary. Well, now they're refiguring what they're saying and acknowledging. Jerome Powell said this last week, I believe it was last week, said that we can't use the term transitory anymore because we know that this is going to move well into the new year. So what does that mean for the everyday average working American, single mothers, parents trying to make ends meet? It means these high prices are here to stay for the foreseeable future, and that's not a good thing to start off the year.
No, it's not. And Paris, I find it amazing on a couple of fronts. Number one, we're still in the midst of the pandemic, and the pandemic has caused rampant spending by the government. Some of it absolutely necessary, a lot of it absolutely not. But when you take that kind of rampant spending, combine it with sending people home from work, and then combine it with supply chain issues, it feels like adding more spending to the spending is only pouring kerosene on top of a fire. So looking at the Build Back Better program, to me, I don't see how this is anywhere near a solution.
Well, it's not a solution. I mean, look, one way of trying to figure out a problem is, just spending your way out of it. I don't know if that's the best long-term strategy. It may feel good temporarily. I mean, I got a check in the mail this week. What happens next week? What happens the next month? I mean, so I think that what this administration's focus on is these temporary fixes, these infusions of people's having likability from the American people, so they can feel good temporarily. I think at this point, after suffering so much that we have both from the physical elements of the pandemic and the emotional elements of the pandemic and the economic elements of the pandemic, the American people say, give us something that's real. Give us something that's long-term. Help us out. And then it's not just the Build Back Broke plan, is what I call it, which is going to raise taxes and cause the debt to increase. But I think also it's the impact of these forced vaccine mandates, which are causing people to also lose their jobs because people are being forced by the government to choose between employment or having a job or being excluded from getting a job because of their choice not to get vaccinated. And again, the RNC and our chairwoman has been very clear on vaccines. It came about because of Operation Warp Speed over a year ago, last week, and it was because President Trump worked with Republicans and business owners and entrepreneurs and pharma to get this to market. But it was not something that was forced on you. We believe vaccines are good if you so choose, but we don't believe the government has the constitutional authority to discriminate against people by forcing them to have a vaccine.
Paris Dennard from the RNC is our guest. We are talking about inflation. Paris, I got to ask about the effects of small business on this one, because as the government moves forward, if they want to cut us all checks on a month-to-month basis just to keep consumers afloat, that is going to can keep consumers afloat on a short-term basis, and it can keep the big box stores open for a little bit of time as well. But I feel like small business is going to get left in the lurch through all this.
Small businesses are already hurting. If you were a small business who managed to make it through the height of the pandemic, kept your business open, if you got a PPP loan, if you survived the forced shutdowns of the economy, now you're looking at the fact that the government is seemingly working against you. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that the federal government would be working against small business owners. But that's what these forced vaccine mandates are doing. And it's not so much the health concern, it's the economic concern on the small businesses, because there's two things going to happen. One, if you force these businesses to make sure that these people are vaccinated, then you might lose the workforce. Or then if you want to pay for the testing, you're either going to pay for it yourself, which you didn't budget for, or you're going to pass it on to your employer or to the employee. The other thing we have to take into consideration is the impact of small businesses that inflation has. The supply chain issue that we're struggling with that crisis, the immigration crisis, all of these things are combining together, creating a perfect storm to hurt small business. And that's not a good feeling to have going into New Year's. You're trying to project and build and grow, sustain, and expand.
Yeah, 100%. Because when it comes down to it, the bigger retailers out there can survive a supply chain issue without raising prices. Those small-time businesses or mom-and-pop shops, roughly 40 million Americans work for a company that has fewer than 100 employees. Those ones right there are going to have the toughest time absorbing it. In the meanwhile, I got to ask you from a strategy standpoint, we got 30 seconds till news, so I apologize for squeezing this into such a tight frame. How is this going to affect midterms?
I think that there's going to be a clear Republican wave, a red wave that's coming. I think the American people are looking at the Democrat Party and saying, what you're trying to propose, what you're doing just ain't working. We need a new direction. I think they're going to point to supporting Republicans. Even independents and Democrats are going to look towards the Republicans because they can see even in the recovery, Republican governors are leading. And these are issues that really matter.
He is Paris Dennard from the RNC. We always appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. What's up?
So, CBS at the top of the hour, they always give it's 4 minutes after the hour, but then they keep going.
Yeah.
Do other networks keep going?
Yes. Yeah, on this one they'll give a 60-second PSA because you can't hard time this one, so it's not a sold spot, or it's not a spot we're required to carry per the contract. So they'll do that, and then they'll come back out. CBS World News Roundup runs until 08. In fact, Bill and Kevin used to carry the full 8 minutes just to, like... No. He starts right at the top of the hour, and then when he breaks, that's when he goes to it. But, yeah, it's the news plus the spots put together equals 8 minutes for him. Troy says, my child is a vaxxed honor student at Main Street Elementary. You left out the part where they ran a half marathon. Yeah. No. Texting my buddy about the stickers.
All right, good. Hey, can you make one with an extra for me?
For no shot? I don't know, Rich. I mean, I don't want you like getting, targeted by people, having them slash your tires, It is still cold in here.
So you have BR Mattress from 647, and now you have.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Since it's a pre-recorded Medical Monday, and that's next after this, you could just.
I actually dubbed the music in already, so you can come straight in from. Yeah. I made sure it was good to go.
I'll just chop it up and post when I post it.
Do what?
I'll have to chop it up and post when I post it.
No, it's Medical Monday's intro. You're supposed to have it. 7:06, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. We're talking leaky heart valves in our Medical Monday segment. That's coming up in the next segment. That'll be followed by Stephen Wagasback from LABI. Great conversation just a little while ago with Paris Dennard from the Republican National Committee. Paris really shining some light on the root of the inflation problems that we're looking at right now. But beyond that, how we get out of them. And I apologize. It was just poor clock management on my part to not give him more room to run to talk about turning the calendar over to 2022. I mean, it is already, what's today? December 13th? So we got a half a month to go of 2021. And let's be honest, after this week, everybody's pretty much shut down anyway. So looking ahead to 2022 is probably where we need to be. And, oh, by the way, 2022 is a midterm election year. And traditionally, party aside, traditionally, when you see movement in one direction and unhappiness with that movement, the pendulum swings right back to the other direction. And it's nothing the Republicans are doing. It's everything the Democrats are doing. And make no mistake, make no bones about it, as a Republican, I have no problem telling you that when Republicans are back in power, we're probably going to screw it up and swing it back in the other direction. That's just the nature of how things have worked in this country. Although I would like to have Paris on or Ronna McDaniel on or somebody from the RNC on to really get into a deeper discussion about managing incrementally or trying to take things in big chunks. Because when you manage incrementally, you can slow that pendulum down, and the swinging back and forth isn't as drastic as what we're seeing right now. But we're also at a time where merely talking to someone on the other side of the aisle ends up landing you as a pariah. Look at Bill Cassidy. Anyway, we'll have plenty of time to break all that down in the near future. Right now, though, we lead off at 7 o'clock. Oh, no, hang on. I haven't told you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. They've got 2 locations. One's in the southeastern corner of the parish on the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. The other is at 4065 Florida Boulevard. Look, as the nights get longer, it's that much more important to get yourself a good night's sleep. As we are approaching the holidays, it is that much more important to make sure your entire family is getting a good night's sleep. And Mitch Kimball and his team over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet can help you out. We are just a couple days away from the year-end closeout sales, the inventory closeout sales. I went and saw Mitch a little over a week ago. He's stocked up at the Florida Boulevard location. And when that happens, he's always looking to fling some deals our way. And when I say our way, we always get a little more for Talk 107.3 listeners. A little more in savings. Definitely free delivery, definitely a free pillow as well. The showroom is fantastic. You're more than welcome to try out. In fact, you're encouraged to lay down on as many mattresses as you can to find the one that's exactly right for you at both locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard in Mid-City, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. Time for top stories and trending. Let's roll.
On Talk 107.3 FM, the most trusted name in news. Brought to you by Complete Collision Center, with locations in Zachary and Baton Rouge. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Choose CompleteCollision.com. I want to know absolutely everything that's happened up to now.
The Capital Area Road and Bridge District will meet this afternoon to get an update about long-discussed plans for a new bridge across the Mississippi River. That meeting could lead to more details about the long-awaited bridge. Officials recently narrowed down a list of possible locations from 32 to 17 a few months ago, with the goal of naming just 3 by next summer. Most of the funding needed for the project was secured during this past legislative session. A federal review process needs to happen to get the final federal dollars to make a vision a reality. Scott Kirkpatrick is the executive director for Crisis, the Capital Region Industry for Sustainable Infrastructure Solutions. They are a transportation advocacy group. He's set to join us to talk about what we can expect from the meeting at 8:15. The meeting itself is at 2 this afternoon. Carson Marcantel wins. Longtime defense attorney Carson Marcantel, who also is a former local prosecutor, won a seat on the Baton Rouge City Court on Saturday, defeating lawyer Terrell T.K. Kent in a special election. Complete but unofficial returns show Marcantel receiving about 61% of the vote. He'll replace Judge Chris Hester, who last year won election to the Baton Rouge-based First Circuit Court of Appeal. Grabbing this one from the Advocate, at least 6 homeless encampments across East Baton Rouge have been cleared in recent months, as community advocates say more people have been forced onto the streets over the past year. BRPD partnered with the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office to disperse camps at Drusilla Lane beneath the interstate, Sherwood Forest at I-12, Airline at Goodwood Boulevard, and near the Pollard Estates neighborhood, according to BRPD spokesman Elgene McNeely. Each camp was cleared after law enforcement received complaints. Mark Armstrong, spokesman for the mayor's office, previously said the administration has worked to address the needs of both people experiencing homelessness and permanent residents in the city. By the way, when camps are cleared, authorities generally offer help with housing, medical assistance, and getting an ID or driver's license, but not everyone takes to the help when those things are cleared. This morning, more details will be provided in the lawsuit that will be lodged against the Department of Child and Family Services by civil rights attorney Ben Crump. WBRZ's investigative unit reported the missteps of the agency to help protect the child in DCFS care from alleged sexual abuse of accused suspect John Mack. State police arrested Mack on charges in Jefferson Parish, but the 70-year-old faces felony charges in Livingston Parish of rape and sexual battery. Due to political ties, the Livingston Parish District Attorney, Scott Perilou, recused himself from handling the prosecution of the suspect's charges out in Livingston. The lawsuit announcement will begin at 9 a.m. Our news partners at WBRZ will have it on their noon news later on today. A professor who has worked at the LSU Ag Center for more than 25 years was arrested Friday after videos of child rape and bestiality were discovered on a hard drive in his office. Charges against 61-year-old Gerald Myers are also pending in St. Gabriel in New Orleans after related searches there, according to police records. The EBR investigation began Thursday when Ag Center officials reported to LSU police that workers in their information technology department had found files on a computer with, quote, names that alarmed them, according to the arrest affidavit. The file names, which suggested child sexual abuse, caused the IT staff to investigate further. Myers was booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish prison Friday night with possession of pornography involving juveniles, sexual abuse of an animal, and possession of marijuana. Those are your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending. Anne Rice passed away. Yeah. Anne Rice, the novelist whose lush, best-selling Gothic tales include Interview with a Vampire, reinvented the blood-drinking immortals as tragic anti-heroes. She passed away at the age of 80. Died late Saturday due to complications from a stroke. Her son Christopher Rice announced on her Facebook page and Twitter page. Rice's 1976 novel Interview with a Vampire was later adapted with a script by Rice into the 1994 movie directed by Neil Jordan, starring Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. We all very familiar with the stories of the vampire Lestat. Anne Rice, a longtime New Orleans author, passing away over the weekend. Those are your top stories in trending. Quick break. When we come back, we got Medical Monday next. Yeah, me too.
You mentioned on there what your medical Monday segment talks about. Is this thing with the heart?
Yes, the Dr. Jorge Castellanos, Castellanos. I know, I'm just phonetically so you could spell it. From the Structural Heart Clinic at Our Lady of the Lake. He's talking about the Mitral clip, which helps fix a leaky heart valve.
And the structural heart
Clinic. Yep.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more. It's time for Medical Monday, brought to you in the interest of your health by Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center.
Yes, it is time for Medical Monday, and yes, we are talking about matters of the heart. Actually, today we're talking about a leaky heart valve. We have Dr. Jorge Castellanos from the Structural Heart Clinic over at Our Lady of the Lake right here in Baton Rouge. Dr. Castellanos, good morning. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
No, very glad to have you on here. Glad to be talking about this because this is something that can fly under the radar from time to time. I want to talk a little bit about the Mitral clip. As I understand it, is a device that is used to treat leaky heart valves. Before that, let's back up. What is a leaky heart valve?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, let's explain that the heart is a pump, and the heart has 4 chambers. Each chamber is separated from each other by a door or a gate. We call those doors cardiac valves. And there's obviously only 2 things that can go wrong with a door. Either the door doesn't open well or it doesn't close well and it leaks. So that's what we're talking about here. We talk about a leaky valve. It's a valve that is not closing well. And obviously the mitral valve is the valve that separates, or the door that separates, the two chambers located in the left side of the heart. And the mitral clip is just a minimal invasive therapy for patients that have leaky valves in the mitral position.
How would one know if they have a leaky mitral valve? Are there symptoms that go along with this?
Yeah, once the leaky valves become severe, there's obviously a range of severity, from very mild to very severe. But once they become severe, they start leaking at that degree, it's usually associated with symptoms. And the most common symptoms of a leaky valve are the same heart failure symptoms, so shortness of breath on exertion, when patients are unable to lay down flat due to shortness of breath, patients waking up in the middle of the night gasping for air, leg swelling, that type of symptoms.
Now, the mitral clip is well, not the traditional way of repairing a mitral valve. What is the traditional way, and how does the mitral clip differ from that?
Yeah, that's a good question. The traditional way to fix leaky valves is with open heart surgery, either by replacing the valve or repairing the valve. The mitral clip is currently the only FDA-approved transcatheter mitral valve repair technology available out there. And this is obviously a minimal invasive procedure that does not require opening the chest. The way we do this is that we advance the clip through a small incision in the groin, in a small vein in the groin, and we go all the way up to the heart and target, obviously, the mitral valve. And this clip has two arms that would target the two leaflets of the mitral valve, right in the spot where the valve is leaking the most. And it's supposed to grab each leaflet of the mitral valve and close the mitral valve in that particular portion where the valve is leaking. And that would reduce the amount of blood coming from the lower chamber of the heart to the upper chamber of the heart, and that will be associated with improvement of heart failure symptoms.
We've got Dr. Jorge Castellanos talking about the mitral clip, and we're talking about the a leaky heart valve and how to fix it. Doc, got to ask you, this is as it is a different procedure, a relatively new procedure, though y'all have done, you and the team over at Our Lady of the Lake and Louisiana Cardiology have done over 100 of them so far. What's the notable difference between how this has improved patients' lives versus the old way?
Yeah, obviously this is a minimal invasive technology. We're very happy that we are one of the highest volume mitral clip centers in the country, and we're having very, very good outcomes. We can repair the valve through a small incision in the groin and change patients' lives.
And I would imagine the less invasive the surgery, the less the recovery time. That applies to a lot of different types of surgery. Does it apply to the heart as well?
Yeah, of course. It's an overnight stay. I mean, patients go home the next day. The majority of patients go home the next day, and they will be walking actually 4 hours after we're done. So yeah, the recovery time is significantly short.
I mean, that is pretty short. Just one overnight stay, and then you're right back to it. Want to talk about the difference between needing a procedure versus medication. Why can't patients with mitral valve just take medications to treat it? Why do they need a procedure like this?
Well, it depends on the type of leaky valve. So there's a big group of patients that have a leaky valve. When the leaflets or the valve is damaged, that's called primary leaky valve. Those patients, whatever you do, you have an anatomical damage of the valve. You need something to fix it. Medications won't work, or they won't work as well. So those patients either need open heart surgery, or we could use the mitral clip. In the patients, there's another group of patients, the patients that have leaky valve because the pump function is low. And in this particular group of patients, the leaflets are normal, but they are unable to reach because the pump is dilated. In this group of patients, medications actually work really well. And it's not until we have put those patients on the optimal medications and they still have a leaky valve that we can offer them the clip. So in that group of patients, medications actually work very well. So yeah, in that group of patients, the mitral clip is used mainly after you have put the patients on the right medications.
Is that something that can be diagnosed on the front end, or do you have to walk down a certain path to know the difference between the two? I mean, do you have to see what they respond to first?
You need an ultrasound of the heart, and the ultrasound of the heart will tell us if the pump is dilated, the pump function is decreased, and they will look at each leaflet of the mitral valve, and if there's a prolapse or a flail leaflet, obviously that would tell us what type of leaky valve we're talking about.
Got a couple more minutes left with Dr. Jorge Castellanos from the Structural Heart Clinic at Our Lady of the Lake right here in Baton Rouge. Doc, I want to go back to the symptoms if we could for just a minute. Are these symptoms like comparable to symptoms of other things, or is this very, very clearly when you hear about these symptoms, you know where the patient's headed?
Yeah, no, I mean, heart failure symptoms can be caused by different valve pathologies, and as I said, the most common symptoms related to a leaky valve are those symptoms. So it's not something specific of having a leaky valve. So shortness of breath, being unable to lay down flat, waking up in the middle of the night, short of breath, or swollen ankles, that could be caused by other causes of heart failure. But if we do an ultrasound of the heart and we see that those patients have a very significant or very severe leaky valve in the mitral position, obviously the leaky valve is definitely related to that. And improving that or reducing the amount of leaky valve in the mitral position, either with open heart surgery or with the mitral clip, would improve those symptoms.
Do we know what causes a leaky valve? Is this something that people develop over time because of lifestyle? Is it genetic? Do we know what goes into it, or do we just know how to get after it once we see it?
Yeah, so as I said, there's two flavors of the leaky valve. When the leaflets have had damage, that's what we call primary leaky valve or primary mitral regurgitation. There is a damage of the leaflet there. There's just a degenerative process, obviously related mainly to age. And obviously, when you have normal leaflets and what you have is heart failure, obviously there's something that caused the low pump function, the pump to fail. In that particular group of patients, the leaflets are usually normal, but they're just being pulled because the pump has dilated, and they're getting sucked into the pump, and when they try to close, they don't reach. So yeah, there's two big categories of leaky valve.
Where can folks go if they want to learn more?
Say that again?
Where can folks go if they want to learn more?
Yeah, so obviously they can go to the website of Our Lady of the Lake, and you can type structural heart program, or you can Google structural heart program at Our Lady of the Lake, and they'll find our website. There's a link of the procedures that we do there and how they can reach out to us. And if they want a more straight contact, they can also reach out to our structural heart coordinator. Her name is Trudy. Her number is 225-765-8303.
225-765-8303. Dr. Castellanos, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Fantastic information.
Thank you very much.
727 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. My appreciation to Dr. Jorge Castellanos from Our Lady of the Lake for hopping on board for Medical Monday. That is a problem that leaky heart valves is something that is quite prevalent throughout. You can get Medical Monday on demand at talk1073.com. We've got a lot more to come. We're going to talk jobs in our next segment. We're going to talk with Stephen Wagasback from LABI in our next segment. Got news coming your way in just a couple minutes. Before we get you to news, though, want to remind you about the folks over at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. You know how they do it at Mooyah. They'll get you squared away with a best-case scenario. They'll get you squared away with a double Diablo or a Wonderful, a Hamburg Dog, a classic double cheeseburger. You name it, they've got it on their menu at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. And if you don't like any of the preset burgers that they have, the wonderful combinations they've already set out, build your own. It's encouraged. And, oh, by the way, we're not done with the Christmas season just yet. If you've still been putting off making sure that your holiday party is properly catered, might I suggest a burger bar from Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Look, I'm sure we've all been to a number of Christmas parties so far, a number of holiday parties so far. You've probably seen a lot of the same fare at all of them, a lot of the same buffet set out at all of them. Maybe it be the mini muffaladas or the cocktail meatballs, whatever the case might be. Step away from all that. Get away from all that. Do something a little bit different. Make your party remembered. Give your guests the gift of the burger bar from Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. All you got to do is hop online at mooyah.com/catering, mooyah.com/catering. By the way, Mooyah, Mooyah, mooyah.com/catering, or call 663-6632. 663-6632. And, of course, swing on by for lunch today. They've got 2 locations. Segan, just north of Industrialplex, or Bluebonnet at Highland for Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. We got a lot of ground to cover in the show today. We're going to talk jobs and all things business with Stephen Wagasback in our next segment, although I'd be hard-pressed not to ask him about this bridge proposal. Coming up in our next hour, we're going to talk with Scott Kirkpatrick. He's the executive director of the Capital Region Industry for Sustainable Infrastructure Solutions, or CRISIS, as it were. There's going to be a meeting later on today that is going to tell us more about where the new bridge might be coming in and what kind of time frame we might be looking at. We're talking with Scott at 8:15, but I got to pick Stephen's brain about this one as well. Because when you look up and down the river at the businesses that are up and down the river, the plants and factories up and down the river, this needs to play a vital role in deciding where the new bridge is going to go. You don't want to build a bridge and have it just completely inaccessible to anybody. Didn't we learn our lesson with that with Audubon? Anyway, Stephen Wagasback's coming up next. One of the many, many topics we're going to be talking about. Hey, while I have a second before getting to news at the bottom of the hour here, got CBS and then our own local news after that, I got to give a shout out to the Cortana Kiwanis crew for having me out to MC the Battle of the Bands at Saturday's parade. That was a heck of a time. Fighting the weather in the early part, and then once things cleared out, it just turned into a gorgeous night for a parade. Nice and crisp, nice and cool. Once things finally, cleared out just in time for the parade itself. But shout out to McKinley for winning the Battle of Bands, although I got to tell you, Madison Prep brought their A game as well. So anyway, thanks again to the Cortana Kiwanis group for having me out. Here comes CBS News. Back to the jacket. And yes, that forecast you heard earlier in the show, the whoever's filling in for Marissa said it's nice and cool. You might want a jacket. Look, I enjoy this weather as much as the next guy, but settle down.
I'm Jeff Palermo, the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge newsroom. St. Tammany Parish voters soundly rejected a proposed $325 million proposed casino and resort in Slidell. Pacific Peninsula Entertainment was seeking to move a casino license that belonged to a now closed casino in northwest Louisiana.
Be back in 2 seconds, y'all. Back.
The first thing I want to mention in this day in history is something that puzzles me.
Okay. There he is.
Talk 107.3. Morning, Steven. How are you? Can't complain. Listen Monday morning. We're going to be live in just a couple moments. We'll get you on, okay? Wonderful. Sounds good. I'll see you in a couple moments. Please hold.
Hey, Steven. What are we talking about today? Yes. I had Paris Dennard from the RNC on earlier this morning, and basically the equation is like, or the comparison, I should say, is basically like Build Back Better is just going to pour more gasoline on a fire. I mean, and and my takeaway is small business is going to get squeezed to death. No. Okay, cool. All right. Coming your way in a second. Thanks.
Bringing you the news you can use with Brian Kilmeade and common sense for your dollars and cents with Dave Ramsey. Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
Okay, so they just hit you with like 1,000 live reads. So now BRPT is 736, and they're giving you a third to 752.
Okay. .737 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time to talk a little bit about jobs. Time to talk a little bit about business in Louisiana. And to do that, we turn to Stephen Wagasback. He's the president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Stephen, good morning, sir. How are you?
Man, I'm good, Brian. I had a great weekend. Looking forward to a great week leading into the holidays. Everything's good. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Yeah, this is that transitional week, right? Like, we all
Right.
assume everything's shut down next week, and I'm out the week after that. But like, this is a transitional week. Kids are taking exams. You don't really, nobody's got on the right schedule, so it's just this is that weird week.
It is. This weekend I went goose hunting with my brother-in-laws in Arkansas, and the place we went to was terrible Wi-Fi, terrible cell service. I was forced to be off the grid for a weekend and just kind of hang out with family. And man, the best medicine you could ask for. So going off the grid sometimes, so you can unplug from all the phones, browsing, and just kind of like focus on hanging out with family and telling stories and having some laughs together. That's kind of what the holidays are all about. So it was a good vibe.
I am a little bit jealous of that. Hey, off the record, we won't tell anybody. Are you done with your Christmas shopping?
Off the record, but let's not tell anybody. But that's a hard no.
Good. Glad I'm not the only one.
But I'm filled with good intentions.
Oh, same.
And
I'm going to wrap those good intentions and put them under the tree.
That's right, exactly. But we'll get there somehow, man. We'll scratch and claw and put it all together. We'll get there.
Well, remember, today is Local Business Monday and tomorrow's Local Business Tuesday. So, because it should be local business every day. Hey,
every day.
Speaking of that, as we transition right into a couple of topics, was talking with Paris Dennard from the RNC earlier this morning about the Build Back Better program. And I got to tell you, the more I look at this, the more it looks like small business and local business are going to be squeezed to death. The more we fling money which is just going to exacerbate the inflation problem, the more we fling money at people to keep people afloat, the more big business, box stores and the like can survive a temporary inflationary spike. Small business is going to get just worked over here.
Yeah, no, it really is true. And inflation is one of those things. If you're kind of the older generation and you remember like the 70s and the 80s, everyone in the country understood inflation because they would come in and out over and over. But a lot of young professionals and young folks in the workforce don't even know what that word means because they haven't seen it basically in 20, 30 years. But the truth is, we're starting to get some of those 70s and 80s inflationary topics going right now, and it's not very fun. Those aren't the good old days. And the big piece is, as you look at what the Fed has done, and I don't pretend to be a Fed expert, but we're all kind of getting up to speed on. If you look at what the Fed has done over the last several years, is everyone's gotten kind of used and addicted to low interest rates. And so the Fed, when the market couldn't provide that, they said, you know what, don't worry, we'll go in and buy some of that debt. Hey, don't worry, we'll go in and smooth out some of those rough edges. We'll keep the gravy train going. And then folks would look at the stock market and see that was doing well. So like, oh, cool, that must mean the economy's doing well. But I think now we're getting into an era where people are starting to realize there's a difference between the stock market and the economy, a big difference. And the stock market is something that the Fed can manipulate and make sure everyone's 401k looks good.
Yep.
But the economy is where the real people live. And that's where they buy their goods, and that's where they get their jobs, and that's when they try to get a raise, and then they go out to the grocery store and they're like, whoa, why is this raise not buying the full cart like it used to? And so that's what's going on right now. And so, I think the Fed is now starting to wake up and say, oh, shoot, we're going to have to dial back some of these monetary policies, stop buying all this debt, and bring these rates up a little bit, which isn't fun. But at the same time, it's also not fun having cars and fuel and food and everything else becoming unaffordable for working families. And you're right. The big guys can kind of retrench and they can get through an inflationary wave. If you're a small business or a working family, you don't have that luxury.
100%. Stephen Wagersbeck, president of LABI, is our guest. We're talking about fighting off the inflation. Is there an end in sight? My biggest takeaway is we're heading into an election year, so I'm expecting an overreaction from both sides in order to either maintain control or gain control of Congress. So we're going to see policy change, are we not?
Yeah, I think state and federal, you're going to see next year things get more political, not less political. And look, let's be honest, that's not a good thing, right? That's going to be annoying for all of us. But I think that's the reality we face. And what's interesting on going to the inflation part of the question, though, is, Chairman Powell of the Fed was just renominated to a new 4-year term. And so before that nomination, he was pretty clear. He's like, look, we're going to keep rates low. We're going to keep the gravy train rolling. Let's roll. As soon as he got renominated, he started to pivot. He said, well, maybe we got to do something after all. And so he is starting to sending a signal to the market. Hey, look, in spring, we're going to have to start dialing up some of these rates. But if inflation keeps driving up, that spring timeline might turn into an early 22 timeline. And so the real question is start watching what Federal Chairman Powell says, because little subtle like winks and nods, he's trying to talk to the stock market and say, look, when I raise these things, don't freak out, guys. Don't start dropping everyone's 401ks. So the more his rhetoric gets more sharp, the more you know those rate hikes are coming.
Hey, stepping away from the today part of this, stepping away from the current inflationary problems and spikes, is there a historical perspective that we can lean on for confidence here? Because if nothing else, there's been a lot of comparisons made to the late 70s when it comes to inflation, and the late 70s kind of gave us Ronald Reagan. I mean, like, can we as Republicans, I know not everybody would be thrilled about this, but as Republicans, can we not say that, hey, the shining city on the hill is just around the corner?
Well, you know, I think politics is evolving into, hey, you know, let's show our value by reminding you how bad my opponent is. And I think that we've been in this circle for a while now, and that crossfire's got to stop. You're right. When in the 70s, when Jimmy Carter said, hey, just put on the sweater and dial up that thermostat, people was like, no way, dude. And then it did allow Reagan to come in. But don't forget, the Reagan Revolution we've warmly remember. And look, put me in that category. I do warmly remember that era. Mm-hmm. The truth is, the early 80s were bad. Yeah. The early 80s in Louisiana really hit this economy hard. I mean, our family moved out of state during that time because the economy dropped out from the bottom. Now, towards the end of his tenure, you know, that's when we were like telling Gorbachev to tear down walls, and people were, you know, the economy started to roar, and it was a great rah-rah moment. But the first 4 or 5 years was pretty rough there. I don't think we should look for that type of long transition. I think if the federal government can just dial back the spending, stop throwing money at an economy that doesn't need it anymore. We're out of the pandemic shutdowns. You know, dial that back. Let the economy take over. I mean, there are so many open jobs right now. In the 80s, you didn't have that. People couldn't find a job. Right now, we've got 140,000 people, less people working in Louisiana today than we did almost 9 years ago. You know, there are jobs everywhere if people just roll up the sleeves, put in the work ethic, and go get it. And if we do a good job of training those people for that. So I don't think we need the long bell curve of the early 80s to have that great comeback moment of the late 80s. I think we can dial it back quickly if we just get people back into the workforce and get the federal government stop air bombing cash on everyone down here.
It was a long curve, to be sure. I'm more thinking about the spirit of things, the spirit of turning the corner with the spirit. Like you said, people run right now on my opponent is worse, or don't vote for the other guy because he's worse. It just
yeah, but Brian, you got to remember that spirit came really from the Cold War. I mean, the economic, tough decisions that have been made in the 80s. There was some good and bad there, and people had different opinions. But all of a sudden, when you're winning the Cold War, when it's you versus the Russians, when Rocky's knocking down Drago, when we're telling dudes to tear down a wall, that gets people rallied up. Same thing with W. Bush when he grabbed that bullhorn and got on the rubble after 9/11 and said the whole world's going to hear us pretty soon. Everyone rallied. Right now, what we have is Putin wants to invade Ukraine, and we're saying, okay, just don't bother us. Putin wants to finish a pipeline. We say, don't worry, we'll shut down our pipeline. I mean, we're not exactly tearing people to tear down walls right now. We actually are telling people we're going to look the other way when you do what you got to do, whether it be China or Russia. So if we want that rallying cry, you can't just do it on talking about quantitative easing. We got to talk about why America's awesome, why it's great, and why we're not going to blink whenever we need to make sure the rest of the world understands where we need to go.
Stephen Wagersbeck, president of LABI, our guest for a couple more minutes. And quantitative easing is not exactly sexy. You're not going to get a whole lot of people just jumping up and down in the streets about that for sure.
No.
But jobs, you will. And I think you hit on a good point just a minute ago. We have jobs available right now. And unemployment numbers continue to look like they're dropping, but at the same time, though, available jobs are not taking the same dip that unemployment is. What kind of fields are we looking for here, specifically in Louisiana? What's open? What's available right now?
And it's almost like if you're someone looking to either enter the workforce or if you're looking at someone maybe for a different job or maybe to improve your quality of life, the good news is the world is your oyster. Yeah. There's not a market right now that doesn't have a story of some openings. The general thought is it's things like, restaurant, hospitality, and all that. And yes, they do have a lot of openings. But I can tell you about our healthcare providers who are saying the same thing. I can tell you about our manufacturers who are saying right now we've got good jobs available. So, there's really a path for you. And it's kind of a buyer's market if you're a job seeker. And so, and some people say, well, I don't know how to do this or that. There's also great training available at some of our community colleges right now. And I think one of the biggest things we can do as kind of, policymakers is do a better job of speaking directly to those parents of young people in high school, or those early entrants into the workforce, those people just coming out of high school or just, deciding whether to go to college or go to the workforce, and really show them the different pathways available to them. You can go to BRCC, you can go to an ABC training facility, you can go to LSU or Southern with a 2+2 pathway. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of ways that you can get, just the minor training you need to really elevate your income. In fact, the biggest problem with community colleges right now is they can't get their graduation rates up because they put people in programs, and you get halfway through a semester and a manufacturer will come gobble them up and hire them up. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And so I think if I were giving a young person advice looking how to either get into the workforce or improve their quality of life maybe, I would go look at that community college system hard, get in some of these manufacturing or healthcare-related training programs, and if you do well there and you show your worth, you might be surprised. Employers come knocking on your door before you can even finish.
It's like the transfer portal, but for real life.
That's right. Exactly.
Hey, we got about 60 seconds left. I'm going to be talking with Scott Kirkpatrick from Crisis in our next hour about the potential for a new bridge. And the plants up and down the river have to play a factor in this. Does LABI have a take on where the new bridge should go?
Anywhere we can get it done as soon as quickly, as fast as possible. I mean, the truth is there's a lot of different dynamics on how you can do it, and there's different strategies. Are you trying to use the new bridge to get some of the the national travel off your local roadways? Are you trying to move local residents? I mean, look, there's been countless studies on it, and quite frankly, there's several different ways to do it that would benefit the region. But I think speed is of the essence here.
Yeah.
And so if there's a pathway, if there's property acquisition rights, they can get it done sooner rather than later. I would rather take a bird in the hand as compared to do more studies and look for two in the bush.
He is Stephen Wagasback, president of LABI. We talk every Monday. I always appreciate the time and the conversation, sir.
All right, man. Merry early Christmas.
Merry early Christmas to you as well. We got to take a quick break. We'll check your money now. When we come back from your money now, it's time to step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish every day. The folks over at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy bring you the outside in. That's coming your way next on Talk 107.3. Hey, Tom. Byron says, I remember sitting in line for hours waiting for gas in the middle of summer in a car with no air conditioner. I don't have great memories of the 70s. Not a whole lot of people have great memories of the 70s. We went from Vietnam to Watergate to Jimmy Carter and inflation. And maybe I might look at the 80s through rose-colored glasses because I was a child and everything's great when you're a child. But what we went through in the 70s set up the 80s. The 80s set up the 90s, which gave us the historically the longest term of peacetime economic growth. I got BRPT here, and then I'll do my Therns to start off the next hour. That should be it after that. Name a star after... My wife would murder me if I named a star after her. No, well, it's not that. It's just like, why couldn't I just sit at my computer and tell her I named a star after her rather than actually paying this slap, whatever it costs, to get a certificate? I got word art. I can make a certificate. I got Canva. I can make a certificate that looks pretty damn official.
What's better than that is getting some property owned in Scotland, like a 1 inch by 1 inch.
Oh, become a lord?
Yeah.
So it turns out I am
Oh, you're a lord. I didn't realize it was in the presence of royalty.
Well, no, it's the property is in Glen Eagles, Scotland. But yeah,
Scotland.
Clan Haldane was a thing. No, it was a thing.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if we're still a thing.
It's a unique thing to hear.
Do what?
It's just not something I'm used to hearing.
What, Clan Haldane?
Clan Haldane. Clan, just any last name.
In the Scottish lowlands. So. Yes, my ancestors. I did some reading on this not long ago. Fought alongside Robert the Bruce. Yeah.
Very nice.
So, have you seen Braveheart?
It's on my list.
Okay.
People say other things are priority because that movie's known for like one line. Which, I can't agree or disagree with that because I haven't seen it yet. But I have been working on my
got 100 great lines.
My movie research catalog. I have a long list. But I checked off some this weekend. I watched the entire Rush Hour trilogy. First two are the better ones. Personally speaking.
Bruh. Wags just texted. Steven just texted me a picture. He says everyone is hiring, and it's a picture of a now hiring sign in the window at Mary Lee Donut Shop. Yeah, and that'd be everybody. Contact Mr. Lee. Oh, so good. I couldn't work at a donut shop. I would eat everything. Hello. Ooh, snap. Scusi. Oh, wow. $7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Thanks again to Stephen Wagasback for hopping on board. Talking about jobs. Everyone's hiring. Everyone is hiring right now. And unemployment continues to drop, but nonetheless, how much of that is people just dropping out of the workforce altogether? They're just throwing up their hands and saying, I'm going to check next month anyway. Who cares? So I always appreciate Stephen's time and conversation. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk with Scott Kirkpatrick from Crisis about the potential locations for a new Mississippi River Bridge. Coming up in 60 seconds, we'll take you outside of East Baton Rouge Parish for the Outside In. Actually, your sponsor for the Outside In every single day is Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. They've got 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area, and they've been around for a good minute. 60 years in the greater Baton Rouge area. They actually introduced physical therapy to Baton Rouge more than 60 years ago. Look, if you don't have a desk job, or if you do have a desk job, and you're looking down at your keyboard all day long, you might end up with a weird crick in your neck. If you don't have a desk job and you're lifting things all day long and you're lifting with your back instead of your legs, you could end up with lower back pain. If you're a new mom who's not used to bending over to pick up the little baby all the time, that can end up in lower back pain as well. Tweaking the knee, tweaking the shoulder, whatever the case might be, Baton Rouge Physical Therapy can help you out, getting you back on a path to being your best you physically. They sit you down, they go over your unique circumstances and physical limitations, and then they work you through it. But you got to give them a call to get a complimentary screening to get on that path. 917-9185, 917-9185, or check out brptlake.com. Get back to being your best you physically with brptlake.com. Time for the Outside In. Let's roll. Starting off in St. Tammany Parish, where voters opted over the weekend to keep sending tax dollars to Mississippi. There was a proposal on Saturday's ballot to bring a casino to town, and it was resoundingly rejected. Pacific Peninsula Entertainment was set to build a $325 million resort near Lake Pontchartrain, called the Camellia Bay Casino. The vote itself was to overturn a 26-year-old ban on gaming in the parish. 63% of voters said no thank you. Mississippi's General Fund and Department of Transportation, however, do say thank you. Ascension Parish authorities on Saturday evening responded to several calls regarding the sound of an explosion in the Prairieville area near Galvez Middle School. The noise occurred around 7 p.m. The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office investigated the sound. As of later that night, they reported they were yet to discover the source of the noise, but the investigation remains ongoing. Retail sales taxes for Lafayette Parish are on track to be the highest this year in nearly a decade. This year, the parish already has $629 billion in sales taxes collected. Lafayette officials say the COVID-19 pandemic could be what's causing the jump. This holiday season, shortages on goods, materials, and employees seems to be having a big impact on how people are spending their holiday shopping. And they've been saving up until now, and, well, now they're blowing it all out, spending it in the Lafayette region. Closing out Naperville Parish, the Department of Corrections, Louisiana's Department of Corrections has named a female warden to lead the state's women's prison. The Advocate reports Kristen Thomas was promoted to head the Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women in St. Gabriel. The facility's inmates have been displaced temporarily due to the flood back in 2016. A replacement prison is in the works, but construction has not yet begun. Thomas most recently worked as chief of security at Elaine Hunt Correctional Center. That's a men's prison, also in St. Gabriel. And that's the Outside In, presented by Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Check them out at brptlake.com. I heard sirens. Freezing my ass off. I don't have my normal printout of all my fun stuff for this day in history. So I've got 3 birthdays and 1 event. And did you need any of the notes from Medical Monday, or are you good to go? Okay. Hmm. Oh, come on, Doug Nebbit. Oh, rough go this morning. Hmm. 806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now, and it's going to be a busy one as well. Scott Kirkpatrick is going to talk about a new Mississippi River Bridge in our next segment. We're also going to talk with Jonathan Bydlak from R Street. Love chatting with R Street. For those that don't know, the folks at R Street are they're a market-based think tank. They're not necessarily on the right. They're not necessarily on the left. They follow the free market, which is why I love having them on. Their takes are going to be based off of where jobs are going to be created, where income is going to be created, where prosperity is going to be created. It's not beholden to one party or the other. That's not until 8:40, though. Jake is going to have this day in history for you in just a second, but first I do need to remind you about the folks over at Matthern's Market. So heading into the weekend, I was telling you they got the new JT Mellick whiskey here. Forget it, it's gone. JT Mellick put out a limited run, kind of a test run on rice whiskey, and it was over before it started. I'm guessing they're going to re-up and get a lot more, but as far as the first run is concerned, it went quickly. Now, that being said, there's no shortage of every other type of whiskey under the sun. If you are heading out to more Christmas parties, more holiday parties, more events, more social gatherings, yes, swing on by either location of Matthern's Market. In fact, the downtown location, this is easy peasy. If you work downtown, you could stop in on your way out. If you do the shopping on your app, you could pull in and never even get out of your car. Do it before you even leave work. Knock out the rest of your grocery shopping as well. And the same is true over at the Tiger State or LSU location right across the street from Tiger Stadium. The corner of Nicholson and Skip Burtman Drive and the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Yes, it's on campus. No, it's not just for students. You turn on to Skip Burtman Drive, you turn into the parking lot, and it is, once again, easy in, easy out. In fact, we're on Government Street here at Guarantee, right? I get in and out of the Matthern's on campus quicker than I can get to and from the Matthern's in downtown on 3rd Street. And there's no limits to what you can do at either location. Both locations providing a complete selection of groceries. Of course, they're known for their craft beers and wine selection as well. So get on by either location of Matthern's. And yes, they do still have catering available leading up to the Christmas season. Check them out give them a call. 367-6074. 367-6074 for Matthern's. All right, time for the outside in. Let's go.
Well, what I think you meant to say, Brian, was this day in history is definitely.
What did I say?
You said the outside in.
We did that last segment.
We did, but it is this day in history.
It is this day in history.
My name is
bad.
Jake Barty. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday morning. If not, hopefully it becomes happy. First things first. I told you before this segment, Brian, that this first one kind of perplexed me. 1759, the first music store in America opens in Philadelphia.
Okay.
But like, how did they sell music? Was it just the sheet music? Was it like you can't portably transport music, can you? Not in the
1759. I don't know. Maybe it was an instrument store. Maybe they sold like
That is
clarinets,
totally possible.
or trumpets, or violins,
Bugle horns,
bugles. Yeah, all these things. Pianos.
Oh, definitely pianos.
Oh, but you got to buy them by the 2-pack, like Costco. That's where they get you.
The 2-pack of pianos.
Yes.
Yeah, you just get them in one large plastic seal.
I get my pianos in bulk.
Yeah, buy them wholesale. All right, we're moving way forward into 1928. The clip-on tie was designed.
Really?
In 1928.
Okay, what's amazing about that is someone decided to write that down and share it with us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the inventor of the clip-on tie should have just like slid back into the bushes like that Homer Simpson
yeah, the
gif.
Homer Simpson meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I have a new invention. It's the clip-on tie. 1950, James Dean begins his career with an appearance in a Pepsi commercial.
Okay.
More do you have? Moving way into the future, just as recent as about 11 years ago, 2010, the 76th Heisman Trophy Award, Cam Newton, the Auburn quarterback. I looked this up. I told you last week that I was positive that he played for Florida. He was at Florida from 2007 to 2008.
Okay. Yeah, he was recruited by Florida. He went to Florida. He didn't play, though.
Yeah, but he was there.
Yeah, I know. This is what we thought we covered this. By the way, you skipped this day in 2000.
What happened in 2000?
On this day in the year 2000. Remember that when Conan used to look to the future and he talked about the year 2000? Anyway, on this day in the year 2000, George W. Bush actually accepted the presidency, which was bonkers because like the election was in mid-November. If it was just contentious, hanging chads and the like.
2015, the 81st Heisman Trophy Award, Derrick Henry, running back for Alabama.
He's huge.
He's not too bad at the whole
He's
game
a
of
large
football.
man.
He's huge, dude.
Created a vacuum in Tennessee, though, with him on the shelf. It's been rough going to get somebody to fill in that role.
I have a question for you.
What?
Would you rather get tackled by Aaron Donald or try to stop Derrick Henry?
Oh, tackled by Aaron Donald.
They both sound horrible.
No, they both sound horrible. Although it hurts less to hit than it does to get hit. But you'd get like dragged like a field plow if you try to tackle Derrick Henry and you hang on, you're going for a ride.
Oh, absolutely. You're going all the way to the end zone.
Like if Aaron Donald hits you and tackles you, it's over.
Yes.
Like it's quickly over. You can
stretcher immediately.
Right. But with Derrick Henry, that's a ride that's not going to stop.
No, not in the slightest. 2018, German basketball forward Dirk Nowitzki takes court for his record 21st NBA season with the Dallas Mavericks, surpassing Kobe Bryant's 20 seasons with the LA Lakers.
All right.
Go Mavs. All right, that's all the events. Let's get right down to the birthdays. We've got some heavy hitters here. First up, Jamie Foxx turns 54.
Steamin' Willie Beeman.
Django Unchained.
I prefer Any Given Sunday. I mean, all the way back to In Living Color.
I'm just listing the movie that I like him the most in.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at that one. Taylor Swift turns 32.
Wait, have you seen Any Given Sunday?
I haven't.
Okay.
Should I add that to the list?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that after the show. Dick Van Dyke turns 96 today.
Wait, did you say Steve Buscemi?
That was next.
Oh, okay. Who'd you say then?
I said Taylor Swift, 32.
And you just glossed over? All right, fine.
What?
Give the woman more respect. She's Taylor Swift.
I was saying it, and then you interrupted me, Brian.
No. I did. Did you re-say it again?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
32 years old today, Taylor Swift.
Yes, she is. Thank you, Brian. Dick Van Dyke is 96. You see, I did it again.
Yep.
Yeah. Any takes?
No.
All right. Then Steve Buscemi is 64.
There you go. Tony B. Tony Blundetto.
Mm-hmm. He's also in Spy Kids.
Oh, I forgot about that. Gross.
No, it's a great movie. The first two are wonderful.
Okay.
Fletcher Cox is 31. And Rex and Rob Ryan turned 59.
Good for them.
Mm-hmm. That's all the birthdays I got. Do you, any that I missed out on?
Nope.
No deaths to report. We got a couple holidays. Let's get right down to it. First, it's National Cocoa Day.
Okay.
It is National Horse Day.
Okay.
National Ice Cream Day.
All right.
National Violin Day.
And?
And most importantly, the U.S. National Guard's birthday. They turn 385 years old today.
Taking a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about a new Mississippi River Bridge. Scott Kirkpatrick joins us next. Hey, Scott. Hey, it's Brian. Sorry, we were in the middle of the segment. I didn't mean to interrupt you. On hold that quick. So meetings today at 2. Just between you and me before we get on the air, you expecting a whole lot from today? Good deal. Cool. Well, hang tight. We're coming up in like 1 minute. All right. Thanks. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see if we can do this. Share to Twitter. Come on. There we go. 817 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, 'tis the holiday season. It's time to dream of some of the greater gifts we could get underneath our Christmas tree. Well, I don't think it'll fit underneath the Christmas tree, but I know it's something that everybody in Baton Rouge has been longing for some time. It's on all of our Christmas lists, and it's a new bridge. Scott Kirkpatrick is with the Capital Region Industry for Sustainable Infrastructure Solutions, and we welcome him back to the show. Scott, good morning. Welcome back. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Doing great. Thank you for having me.
No, glad to have you on here. You know my level of cynicism when it comes to this topic, but you know I also love following the process because it does look like we're moving forward. There will be a meeting today for the Capital Area Road and Bridge District. What can we expect from that meeting?
Yeah, so they're going to be talking about mainly the public meeting is going to be coming online early next year to talk about the location of the new bridge. So very significant that they'll have kind of robust public hearings in the spring of next year, and they'll be used to narrow the bridge down to about 3 locations.
Narrow it down to 3. How long before we can get it narrowed down to 1 from there?
Well, that's a great question, and really it's somewhat up to us as a community. I think the community may very well rally around one location as they've narrowed it down. And hopefully we won't repeat our mistakes in the past where last time we narrowed it down to 3 locations. people started peeling off, and we didn't have consensus, and the whole process fell apart. So 2022 is going to be a huge year to settle on a location for the bridge.
Okay, so today we're going to be looking at narrowing down from 32 to about half, or just over half. It's 17, correct?
Yep, that's right. Yep, they have done that narrowing. They'll be talking about that today again, and so some progress, but obviously started off with a big number, and got to get it a lot narrower, a lot fewer.
This might be a silly question, but 32 locations would get you eliminated this early in the process.
They did go through some basic things like the stretch. They'll look at the river stretch, and if the bridge has to be too long, it's going to be cost prohibitive. They'll look at the kind of environmental corridors, and where you have some things that'll jump out as problematic environmentally, they'll take them off. And then also look at kind of travel time, and if it's going to be too long, but a drive where it won't be used by a lot of people, they'll take it off. So those were some of the initial screening criteria they used to knock it down.
And conversely, what would be the criteria that would keep them in the running for this? I mean, as far as connectivity back to the interstate, where it lands on the west side, I think needs to play a huge role here as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we want this to be a heavily used bridge, and so they're going to be looking at doing different models to see what they think people in the region will use. They also envision this being a toll bridge, so they need people to be willing to pay to use it. So doing that modeling and getting some community input on that is going to be really important.
What are some of the other factors we've heard that are going to be important as well? I mean, what have people sounded off on already?
So, I do think, you got different portions of the great capital region, right? So, I mean, in some instances, we got considerations about what people in East Baton Rouge think as the bridge may be coming in, right, towards that, let's say, around the LaBerge area, and dumping people off there, where they got to kind of think about that, what that means for their daily commute. You got folks down in Iberville and Ascension thinking about Highway 30 and LA 1. What happens with those roads already, how people envision, additional traffic coming through there, what kind of road improvements are needed, let's say. In particular, we've heard with Highway 30, everybody in Ascension says, look, we got to 4-lane that highway, right, and make sure it can accommodate that traffic. And so those are, I think each, depending on where you are in the capital region, you got a different considerations, and it's important to kind of gather all those in and find the best solution.
You mentioned LaBerge, and when talking about some of the factors that would knock you out of contention as well, where LaBerge is on the river, on the other side of the river, there's nothing there. And LaBerge, because that was one of the spots that caught my eye first, and then when you look at where does the bridge land after that, would that prove to be too difficult, just looking at what the ground is like on the other side?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think there are some locations they have identified now that in some instances they'll have to be kind of raised, kind of above wetlands, and obviously costs just skyrocket when you do that. So that's, they have to weigh some of those factors. So you may have a situation where you have a pretty narrow Mississippi River, so the bridge cost itself is relatively low, but then the approaches on either side are high because it's got to be elevated. Right. So you got to weigh both of those factors there. So it's not a very simple calculation, but look, they've got a lot of people working on it, and it's certainly something we can and should do as a region. So we're committed on behalf of Crisis to making sure we get this done and making sure our elected officials and the public kind of rally behind one location.
Hey, what about proximity to current bridges? I mean, I would imagine you can't get too close to the current Horace Wilkinson Bridge, and conversely, you don't want to get too far close to Donaldsonville. We'll put you on top of the Sunshine Bridge. I guess the hard part here is the river does this whole serpentine thing right down the middle of those two locations. It's going to make it difficult to find the right spot.
Well, you certainly captured a couple of the considerations there, and I think put it pretty well. I mean, no doubt we want to pull people off the Horace Wilkinson Bridge. Certainly from a business standpoint, I think a lot of people in the Baton Rouge area appreciate. We want people to use this new bridge and get them off the Horace Wilkinson Bridge.
Yeah.
But you're right, you can't put it too close there because it's just not a corridor, right? There's that the corridor that is there is being widened at I-10, which is a huge project, but it will only be widened by one lane in each direction. And so we've got to find another way to get people back to I-10. Every plan has us using Highway 30, right? So the new bridge putting you off down onto Highway 30, and that can be your your way to get back to I-10. But you're right, Baton Rouge has got a lot of growth already that's going to prohibit the bridge being too close to the Horace Wilkinson Bridge.
Public comment starts in the spring. How much? What kind of a roadshow are we looking at for public comment meetings?
Well, we will. I do expect we'll hear a lot more about that today. I do think it'll be a robust process, being all the parishes, impacted parishes around the capital region. A chance for folks to look at the 17 locations and provide comment, and that be critical, right? Because if you can imagine going from 17 to 3, pretty significant drop, right?
Yeah.
So it is going to be important for everybody's comments and thoughts to be captured in the spring, because by the summer they'll have narrowed it to 3. So we're excited to get to that point. It's important for the community to get there, and again, we're hoping pretty quickly after that we can rally around the right location.
Yeah, and I like the fact that there's a timeline set out to get it narrowed down to 3, because you're going to have just infinite levels of feedback on this one, and there's going to be a million reasons we can't, and we need this committee to stay out front and say, yeah, we hear you, but we have to find a way to say we can.
Well, I love how you put that. On this Capital Area Road and Bridge District that's meeting this afternoon, that's got the 5 parish presidents in the Capital Region on there. And I thought we're very hopeful they will drive politically. They will help drive this. They'll stay committed to making it happen. And to your point, knowing that there will be no location that everybody loves, right? There's always going to be a location that provides some heartache for some group of folks, and we got to do what's in the best interest of the region. And as on behalf of Crisis, certainly we're looking at it not only for the individuals, but for the business community and what's best for our long-term growth.
How much infrastructure on the west side of the river is going to factor into this conversation as well? Because Highway 1's pretty stacked up as it is. I mean, is talks of connecting 415 a part of this discussion too?
Yeah, so that 415 connector that is fully funded. That is going to be an important route to where you can exit off there. They have plans for some improvements, particularly around the traffic lights on LA1, to make sure people can kind of zoom down there a little easier. So you are right. In addition, just to the bridge, right, you need a very good access on LA1, improved access, and you need very good access on Highway 30. So it's really those 3 things are all needed to make it a successful project overall.
Got about 2 minutes left with Scott Kirkpatrick from Crisis. We're talking about the meeting of the Capital Area Road and Bridge District, which begins at 2 o'clock this afternoon at the state capitol. Scott, you mentioned about the 415 project being fully funded. A lot of the funding for this bridge already went through the state legislative process last session. Is there a timeline or a window to get those dollars allocated to where they need to be? Meaning, can y'all don't have a whole lot of time to screw around with debating on the location?
Yeah, it's a great question. What's great about where we are, we have a good bit of funding allocated to this. The state is going to go through a process where they will be looking to bond that revenue, right? They've got about $300 million that ultimately will be dedicated towards the bridge and a few other projects in the state. And so they will set up kind of a timeline for the bonding. We'll see that, I think, rolling out in the next year or so. And so as Crisis, we'll be following that and making sure that the bridge is kind of situated appropriately there, so we can get our funding. Of course, part of us understanding how much money we ultimately need from the bonds is understanding exactly how much the bridge will cost, which means understanding exactly where it's located. So we've got to do our work here and get it located so they can get a cost and get it situated in the bonding schedule.
Well, it is a slow process. It's a painstaking process, especially if you're already stuck in traffic on I-10. But we look, any update, any movement forward with this, we always greatly appreciate. And my prediction is we're going to connect White Castle with what's right on the White Castle with Highway 30 on the other side. Just that, my bold prediction. my layperson's input right there. Scott, we always appreciate the time. Good luck at the meeting today.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for hopping on board. This is one of those okay. This is one of those ones where everyone's opinion is equally terrible, mine included. And when you look at a map of where we're at, he mentioned L'Auberge right there. The other side of the river from L'Auberge is all wetlands. So you'd have to be raised all the way up to Highway 1. And, oh, by the way, connecting with Highway 1 is going to prove difficult because traffic on Highway 1 is already beastly. But the river just serpentines back and forth in between the two bridges. So at a certain point, they're going to have to say, just jump on the grenade here. Boom, we got to go somewhere. Let's connect, like, Plackham into St. Gabriel. Or White Castle scooches over the bridge, and you can end up back on Highway 30. There is going to be no location that's going to have consensus. At the end of the day, you're just going to have to up and do it. And the real fight is going to be, honestly, I think the fight is going to be between parish presidents over who gets it. Who has to take a back seat and take a pass and let another parish get it. But we all need it so badly. Anyway. I mean, Friday, look at the bridge, look at the Horace Wilkinson Bridge every Friday. And not just Friday afternoon. Friday anytime after 11 a.m., both directions. It's awful. We're coming up on news here in just a second. Before we get you to news, I got to remind you about the 15K holiday. It's time to rock your holidays, courtesy of Citizens Bank and Trust. What would you do with an extra $15,000 this Christmas season? We'll go to talk1073.com to register to win $15,000 cash, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust and Talk 1073 FM, the new flavor of talk. That wasn't us that went off, was it? Okay. Yeah, hit the button. Yeah, we're good. Oh, man. This cold is just good night. Well, Scott was fantastic. I want to have him on once a week just to, as a visual reminder of how long this shit takes. Next thing I know, I'm on the roof again. All right, y'all, where do you think a bridge should go? Holler at me. Where do we need to put a bridge? I think it's going to be further south than L'Auberge, personally. You put it a little bit further south than L'Auberge. Make your connector go down to, but the Bluebonnet, like spitting out on Bluebonnet would be nice. Because then you have the option of, if you're staying in Baton Rouge, Bluebonnet is wide open, although they do have a lot of new subdivisions up in that area, and the speed limit is way too slow. But Bluebonnet's a good option because you could veer right on Highway 30 if you want to go back to the interstate via Gonzales. Byron says, I love these studies. We can't build there because it might endanger the horny toad, unicorn, salamander nesting area. You know, I don't know that we've heard about that this time around. Yes, that is normally what stops it in its tracks, and it's never an actual problem. It's always a potential problem. But, yeah. Do you have Jonathan Bydlak's number? I think we call him for 8:40 this morning. And he's not due till 6:40, so let me hop back in first. No, I've got Go Slim, but I'm not doing a full live read for them right now because they're off until the end of the year. So, but I do want to make mention of them. Yeah, I'll do one or two a week, just to. It's yeah. No, I take care of them. It's if it's needed, I'll do it for sure, but that's not the norm. I say I'll take care of them. There's nobody. See, the thing is, I don't do live reads for people that I don't completely support their business. Like, I don't just do reads just to do reads. So, if it's somebody I support, if it's somebody I've got a relationship with, then yeah. You need an extra mention or two from me? Absolutely. You need to get in front of an audience at a different time of day? More than happy to help. I'm trying to think, I'm running down my list of who I do live reads for. Like, if, Doug's like, hey, I need, oh, you know what? Perfect example. Doug was hiring over Complete Collision. He's like, would you mind throwing in a couple extra minutes? No, not a problem. You need more people to serve more people. That's awesome. That's been an uphill battle, keeping people on staff. I don't know how we are this cold, this late into the show. I should have gone pee. Oh, excuse me. .837 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Congress could be looking at raising the debt ceiling again. We're going to talk with Jonathan Bydlak from R Street about that in just a little while. Hey, but first, do want to remind you about the folks over at Go Slim Nutrition. Check them out online, GEAUX, slimbr.com. Went over there on Friday, had to take my medicine. You'll know when I go over there, I call my little sit-downs, my weekly update on how I'm doing with my plan. I call it food confession. And sometimes I've got things to confess. After Thanksgiving and a Catholic retreat, and you can't spell retreat without eat, results were not the best last week. But I got to tell you, the level of support you get along the way, it's not about the food. The food's great, but it's not about the food. It's about the accountability and having a team work with you. Vicky and her team work with you to keep you on the path, even on the week where you stray from the path, keeping you back on the path, getting you back on the path to weight loss, to have healthier lifestyle choices and the like. They've got jumpstart plans available right now. You could still get ahead of the holidays before the holidays get ahead of you. Call them at 763-9600, 763-9600 for Go Slim Nutrition. Start the new year off the right way. Start the new year off with some healthier lifestyle choices with Go Slim Nutrition. All right. Joining us right now to talk about the debt ceiling. It feels like we just went through this a couple weeks ago, and yet here we are again. Joining us now to talk about it from R Street is Jonathan Bydlak. He heads up the governance program with our street. Jonathan, welcome back. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you back on. Now, we talked just, a couple months ago about this exact same topic, and yet here we are again.
Yep. It's amazing. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and here's the thing, though. When it comes to the debt ceiling, and if I recall our conversation from last time, it's basically you got to hold your nose and cast your vote because it has to happen because you can't default. The Treasury can't default on its loans. Are we going to see a time where this is rinse repeat enough to where folks just say, no, enough. I got to call the bluff on this one. Not call the bluff, but I got to call. And this is, we'll eventually get to a point where we see someone say, we can't keep doing this.
Well, I mean, I think people to some degree are there, right? And that they understand that this process is broken and that we would be better off going and probably doing something different. I mean, it is important to note here that virtually no other countries have any sort of debt limit process like the United States. In fact, the only two that I know of, I think, are Denmark and Poland. And in Denmark's case, they keep it at about, 300% of what they need. So they never actually even bump up against it. So, this is kind of a unique process here. And a lot of it stems from the fact that we don't actually have any restrictions on what we're able to spend. So most of these countries go and they say, you can only spend so much based on what your expected revenue is. But in the United States, we don't have that. And so we try to go and stop this, in a sense, now by limiting borrowing on the back end. But, that's very problematic because, as we've talked about before, that money's already been spent. And so, I think you have this argument where you have some fiscal conservatives who see not raising the debt limit as a way to try to check the growth in government spending. And then you have everyone else that says, yeah, but wait a minute, that money's already been spent. This is not going to solve anything. All it's really going to do is risk the full faith and credit of the United States. And so, maybe at some point in the future, we get to the point where those two sides come together and say, yeah, we might want to rethink this process that we have. But for the time being, I think the more likely outcome, sadly, is that, we're just going to keep playing these games, because it's in both sides' interest to sort of play politics with it.
Well, and that's the problem, though, is when you're playing politics with it, if both sides are playing politics with it, we're running us into a spot where we're spending more than we're ever going to be capable of paying back, and it's going to default eventually anyway. So normally when the debt ceiling is raised, we're able to hold off for, I don't know, a few years at a time maybe. But this was mere months where the fiscal conservatives said, no, we can't. Everyone else said, yes, you have to. The fiscal conservatives came back around and said, okay, we will. But there was no good faith based in that. They turned around and spent to the limit again within months. It just, to me, this is going to, the conversation is going to turn towards, forget about what's good for America. Forget about what needs to be done from a financial perspective for not defaulting on the loans. It's a matter of, we gave you a thumbs up months ago, and you just snubbed your nose at us and went right back to spending again. How do you cut off the spigot?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and there's not, frankly, an honest answer or an obvious answer. I think that a big part of the problem is that we have this accountability issue where, members go and they vote for spending and nobody really holds them accountable because, if you're a voter, it's hard to know exactly who, who's voting for what and who you hold responsible for, big spending packages. And let's be clear. I mean, the last administration was spending a ton of money. I think something like $3.2 trillion just in the last 2 years of new spending. That's pretty comparable to what we've seen so far from this administration. So, this problem is pretty much, caused in a bipartisan fashion. Neither side, outside of maybe some really narrow interests have any interest in doing anything about it. And so, I think that until Americans start to, change their expectations of what, government should be doing and how they operate, we're not going to get much of a change. And unfortunately, as I mean, most voters are tend to vote just based on partisan preferences anyway, and with an argument that, my guy's better than their guy, and they kind of give a free pass when their person goes and votes for this kind of spending. And so, again, we find ourselves in that situation, rinse and repeat over and over again.
What kind of timeline are we looking at here in order to get this done, should it get done?
It's plausible by the end of the year, I think, is the most reasonable expectation. But there is obviously some level of confusion as to exactly how much time there is.
So the Senate already voted to move this forward, so it's in Congress's hands right now, and I think that's where we were going to see more opposition from that side in the first place. Has anybody really spoken out with any arguments outside of the ones we heard last time around?
Not really. I mean, Republicans are in the minority, and they have tended to be, more open to opposing debt limit increases when they're in the minority. I mean, of course, when, a couple years ago, right, the thing that got us to this point was that there was a longer term increase in the debt limit. And so, it's again, I don't think there's anything, we're not really reinventing the wheel here. I mean, these arguments are the tried and true ones that people use when they talk about, time to raise the debt limit.
Maybe it's just because I'm a petulant child and I'll never hold a political office, but what would stop a Republican from saying, you know what, forget it. Let's just triple it, quadruple it. Forget it. We're not talking about real numbers anyway. Let's do something completely insane and raise the debt ceiling to a point where it will never have to be raised again. Let's just make it infinite. Take the ceiling off.
Well, here's a big part of the problem with that. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, look, if I were waving the wand and kind of coming up with the rules that I think are optimal, I don't think, I certainly would not go and say that this process is what we should have. I would get rid of the debt limit process. But the thing is, you have to replace it with something else, because if you don't, then what you end up have happening is there's really not going to be any discussion about fiscal issues anymore. I mean, the reason that the debt limit is sort of used in this, brinksmanship way is because it's really the only opportunity to have an actual debate about the finances of the country. And, the recent history has showed us that, some of the various budget deals and things like that we've had have come out of these debt limit standoffs and the negotiations thereafter. And so, if you look at the Budget Control Act, for example, from 10 or 11 years ago, it was basically a result of a debt limit standoff. And so, the reason that I think a lot of people don't want to give it up is because they recognize, that at least those who care about fiscal conservatism and fiscal responsibility, that this may be the only opportunity they have. And so, that's the frustrating thing for someone like me who does want to see more responsible fiscal outcomes. Right. But I'm even hesitant to go and say, well, we should just go and as you just described, raise the debt limit so that we don't have to worry about it for a while, because the result of that will be we likely won't have a budget. We won't have any blueprint for what we're going to spend. We're just going to go and spend, ad infinitum, and there won't really be much of a public discussion about it.
Janet Yellen reminds us that raising the debt ceiling does not authorize new spending. Well, the same is true at a zoo. The fence doesn't stop the lion from attack, or doesn't cause the lion to attack, but you want the fence there anyway, don't you? I mean,
like I said earlier, you need to have something, right? And I would argue very strongly that, the types of things that we see other countries do, frankly, the types of things that we see in many states are way more effective. I mean, the taxpayer Bill of Rights in Colorado or the kicker in Oregon, these are ideas that have tended to be much more effective at restraining government largesse. And, in Colorado, they even go and refund money back to taxpayers when they don't spend too much, which, man, would that be wonderful if that existed at the federal level. So to me, that's the true answer. We need fiscal rules like that at the federal level, just like we do and like we have in some states and some countries do.
Jonathan Bydlak with R Street as our guest. Just your gut reaction or your gut prediction, this is going to go up again, correct?
Yeah, I think it's obvious, right? I think that at the end of the day, there won't be a majority of people that are willing to, play Russian roulette, if you will, with the full faith and credit of the United States. And so they will go along with the debt limit increase because they don't want to be the ones to ultimately be held responsible if there were truly, disastrous consequences.
I mean, Russian roulette might have to be changed to Chinese roulette. Just for the phrasing. He is Jonathan Bydlak from R Street. We always appreciate the time and the information, sir. You have yourself a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
You too. Have a good one.
You too. Absolutely. We're about 1 minute away from your money now. Going to check traffic one more time after that. Hey, before we get, look, I know it's not the most mature thing to say just screw it. Spend whatever you want. God, I'm done. Like, I'm just done with the whole conversation. I know that's not the most mature thing to say, but we were in the middle of this conversation 2 months ago. They raised the ceiling, went ahead and spent up to the ceiling again. And now the Build Back Better program is moving its way through. So, hey, raise the ceiling again so we can spend more. All right, fine. We're just eventually one side is going to have to realize that this is real money we're talking about, real debt we're talking about. Debt has to be paid off. And you can't just keep doing this rinse, repeat, ad infinitum, like Jonathan said. Anyway, we'll come back and close it out next. Your Money Now, traffic, one more segment to go here on Talk 107.3. I freaking hate the conversation. Such a stupid conversation. Because once you're in it, you're in it. There's no getting out of it. And Republicans are in a minority right now, so you can't up and say, I will vote to raise the debt ceiling if you vote to reduce spending. Oh, I can't reduce spending. There's too many people in need. Okay, well, they were in need last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. Eventually, we have to say, you cannot prop up the nation just by propping up the nation. You know, we're supposed to have Congressman Troy Carter on tomorrow at 8:35. I think that's the angle I'm going to take. Congressman Carter, why are we only raising the debt ceiling by XYZ? Double it. Triple it. Why is Build Back Better only $3.5 trillion? Why not make it $20 trillion? Why not give every American $1 million tomorrow? Yes, I am a petulant child. Won't care. Oh, hello. Nope. No hello. Oh, snap! Facebook memories, how dare you? 7 years ago today, December 13th, 2014, I was DJing a wedding in Cutoff, Louisiana. Suburb of Lockport. I was DJing a wedding at the Cutoff, Louisiana Youth Center was where the wedding reception was. I mean, old school basketball court and whatnot. Had it decorated with the streamers. The groom was from Honduras. The bride was from Cutoff. The families loathed each other. This was, like, you think the debt ceiling is a fight? If you could have seen this wedding reception, the groom's family, the groom was the only one in the family who spoke a word of English, and it was literally just one word. Constant requests from one side for Horace Trahan, and from the other side, more bachata music. I did not know what bachata was before that night. I am now fluent in bachata. It's good stuff, actually. It's good dance music.
Did it pay well?
No. There was no tip to be had. The groom's cake had boobies. Jake, the groom's cake. Can I show this on? Let me.
Yeah, go for it.
Can I white balance at it? Oh, too much white. Too much white in the screen. A little too much white in the screen, but you get the idea. That was the groom's cake. It was a fight. It was a battle. The father of the bride was the only cool-headed dude in there. The only one. And like everybody else, the groom's family was, like, violent. Like, shit was thrown across
my
the floor.
God.
Oh, it was brutal.
Yikes.
And there's those nights where it was a 4-hour reception.
Oh, God.
There's just nights where, like, every song feels like it's running in negative time because at the end of the song, like, 4 hours at 4 minutes a song on average, you can count it down to know where you're going. I swear to God, I would look down and, like, no time went off the clock! What did we roll through, a TV timeout? Where's the red hat? Like, oh, my gosh. Like, okay, it's 8:51. After this song, it should be 8:55. I look back down. It's 8:48. What the hell? We went back in time. Where's Dr. Emmett Brown and his DeLorean? Oh, God.
You think they're still together?
No. No, I don't think they made it through the weekend. I think somebody got cut.
Oof. Not on your time, though.
No.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'd play like a Cajun song, and the groom's family would be like, more bachata! I'd play bachata, and the bride's family, hey, man, I can't dance to this!
Ay, Dios mío.
I don't know why I did a country accent for a coon ass. That was off. Cut Off, Louisiana. You gave me a quizzical look when I said the name.
Yes.
It's actually a very famous town.
Oh, really?
You have met T. Bob Hebert.
Yes, I have.
His father.
Bobby
Hebert, the Cajun Cannon. The founding father of the Who Dat Nation is originally from Cut Off, Louisiana.
Ah, okay. The more you know.
You got to know the small towns in Louisiana.
Oh, yes. And
it's a process.
I'm learning as we speak.
It's a process, but a place like Cut Off,
yes,
suburb of Lockport.
Hey, over time, I'm going to get it down pat. Well, just give me a...
Mark Cut Off down. You know Cut Off now.
Cut Off I'm familiar with. Just give me the benefit of the doubt every now and then.
.856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. One segment to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane. By the way, if you're not watching us on YouTube, I highly recommend when you have a moment at the office, go ahead and pull up the YouTube and fast forward. Well, actually, you know what? First of all, pull up the YouTube and fast forward to 6:30 in the morning, half an hour into the show. When Richard Condon was on this morning, oh my word, he's got the product of 2022 ready to roll. The long and the short of it is, it's a sticker you want to put in the back window of your car. Beyond that, go check out the YouTube broadcast to learn more. Fast forward to a half an hour within. You don't have to sit through the whole show. Hear Condon's segment. Oh, my word. It was just fantastic. And then, if you want to hear all the interviews, I mean, we had a great Medical Monday segment. Stephen Wagerspack was fantastic as well. Jonathan Bydlak just a moment ago. And, of course, the conversation with Scott Kirkpatrick. I tell you what, between a new Mississippi River Bridge and raising the debt ceiling, I don't think I could have a more cynical hour. Nonetheless, Scott and Jonathan were both fantastic guests, very informative, great conversation. But fast forward beyond that, or watch through it, and then watch during that last break. Had to tell a little DJ story, thanks courtesy of Facebook Memories. The most volatile wedding I've ever DJ'd was on this day 7 years ago. I'm not going to give spoilers except to say the groom's cake had boobies. That's a legit thing that happened in real life. And you can learn about it on our YouTube channel. And oh, by the way, subscribe while you're there. Go ahead and smash the subscribe button. Hey, Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo invites you out to this year's Zoo Lights. It's a festive mile-long trail through the zoo. Features more than 50 illuminated display sculptures of animals and scenes of the holiday. It runs now through December 30th, though they will be closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Gates are open from 5:30 to 8 p.m. 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. daily. If you're pushing on 8 p.m., don't worry. The park doesn't close until 9. So even if you get through the front gate at 8, you still have a full hour to leisurely stroll the mile-long trail of displays. This year, as in past years, every guest presenting a non-perishable food item during the hours of Zoo Lights will receive a 50% discount from the regular admission price. That's $5 for adults, $4 for senior citizens, $3 for children under 12, $3 for Friends of the Zoo members. Visit brzoo.org/events for more details. Looking ahead to tomorrow's show, we should have Congressman Troy Carter on at 8:35 tomorrow. Looking forward to that conversation because the debt ceiling is going to come up. Build Back Better is going to come up. And yeah, I'm done with it. Like, let's just flip the script and say, spend it all. Go ahead. What's the point at this point? Congressman Troy Carter tomorrow. Also, we will have the Baton Rouge Area Chamber on as well. And there's a few more topics. I can't spoil them yet because they're not confirmed, but we've got a number of interviews lined up for tomorrow morning as we're gearing up for tomorrow's show. Hey, Brian Kilmeade show coming your way at 10 o'clock. Before the Brian Kilmeade show, we've got the Fox News Rundown. Of course, Dave Ramsey from 1 to 4, and Jay Ducote will close out our daytime programming from 4 to 6 this afternoon. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, YouTube, I got to get upstairs. It's staff meeting time, so I'll see you all tomorrow.